I got off the phone and my wife's like, who was that? I said, Morgan Wallen. What do you want? Want me to go on tour with? We're playing Madison Square Garden.
Some artists write songs. Larry Fleet tells stories.
Our goal as songwriters should be to write something that can affect somebody. It's the biggest compliment you can ever get is that song changed my life.
Larry's built a career by staying true to who he is rather than chasing who the industry wanted him to be. Raised in small town Tennessee, he learned that the best stories aren't made up, they're lived.
The whole football team pile up in the bed of this truck and we say, Mom, jump the railroad tracks. She jumped the tracks. Everybody's just hanging on for dear life. I tell the story to Shell. I'm like, I don't think my mama loved me at all. You know? And now that I look at it, yep, she didn't.
Whether he's writing about faith, family, heartbreak, or hope, there's a sincerity to his music that makes people feel like they're hearing a piece of their own story.
What if we wrote a song that was a timestamp? I-25, oh, beat up for pulling in the drive. I just thought it was a clever song, and I thought, well, how many other people probably did that?
In this conversation, we talk about fatherhood, staying grounded when success begins to change your world, the tension of living in the gray, and why authenticity may be one of the hardest and most important things to hold on to.
Where I find God, that was the moment my career changed. Everybody thinks it was this big old #1 hit, but it never even broke top 40. One big conglomerate or whatever said wasn't a reactive song. A few years later, I played it for 21,000 people and they sang every word and thought, it seems pretty reactive to me.
Welcome to Human School, Larry Fleet.
We've been taught everything except how to be human. I'm Miles Adcox, and this podcast turns raw experience into practical wisdom. So if you're ready to stop performing your life and start participating in it, you're in the right place. This is Human School.
Glad to have you on Human School today, buddy.
Hey, glad to be here.
It's good to meet you.
Yeah, you too.
I've been a fan of your penmanship and storytelling for quite some time. Was really excited when I saw that we might get to have a conversation on here. Yeah. I think you're one of the better songwriters in town, and I'm kind of a songwriter nerd, so I keep up with them.
Thank you.
Well, I work in the currency of stories a little bit too, helping people unlock parts of their lives and live better lives and optimize their relationships. And I'm drawn towards storytellers and creatives. And you tell a great story. And you really did on this new project, this new album. So I'm excited to get into that with you a little bit, but I also would just love to get to know you a little bit.
Yeah.
And ironically, I don't know if you know this, but I've met your family.
Oh, really?
Weirdly.
Oh, boy.
Met your wife and kids.
Really?
Bob and Karen Johnson.
Yeah. Okay.
I got a horse over there at their barn.
Okay. Yeah. We had one over there too.
You did?
Yeah.
I was, it's probably 2 weeks in. It was before I think y'all moved to Chattanooga or somewhere.
Yeah, we live in Chattanooga. Yeah.
2 weeks in, I was over there, and it's probably the second ride I had on this 2-year-old that I put with Bob and Karen. And Bob was trying to tune me up. He's still trying to tune me up.
Yeah.
But your wife was over there riding a horse. I think she was going over there kind of saying goodbye before y'all left town. And I didn't know who she was. I just assumed she was part of their staff because I watched the way she rode. She can ride.
Yeah, she can ride.
She's good.
Yeah.
And then your kids came popping across the arena, and in one way or another, we landed on. I found out that you were part of the equation, and we'd not met yet. They thought I might have known you because I know I work in your industry a lot, but this is the first to meet somebody. But I've already met your better half and your 2 kids.
Yeah. You said you worked in mental health, and I thought you met my wife. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm learning something.
I should have done a better segue on that.
Well, no, that's we had a horse over there with them for a little while. It was I don't know if you've seen it. It was Chili.
Yeah.
That I think Karen was riding it there for a while, and we sold it back to them. But we lived right down the road, so we used to ride the golf cart around, and we ended up going up there and seeing this barn. And so my wife, she went to UT Martin on a equestrian scholarship. So she's
like rodeo?
No, like jumping horses and all that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even know Martin did that.
Oh, yeah.
They do hunter jumper stuff.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Wow.
And so
I knew they got a big
she
rodeo
was kind
team.
of into all sorts of things when she was in school. But as she got out and then did all the hunter stuff, then we got into she got into Western stuff. I used to go up there and just ride around, but yeah, I needed Clydesdale to tote me around. But so it was, we hung out there a lot, and that's something that my wife is into, and I go to the shows with her, and Waylon, my little boy, he would go and do the lead line, and so we kind of got into it there, and we still have a couple horses, and we got them out in Bell Buckle now. But,
oh, do you?
Yeah, because it's kind of halfway from here
closer,
to Chattanooga, but yeah, so I grew up in White Bluff, right over there.
Okay,
that's where I grew up, born and raised until I don't know, 10 or 12 years ago. And then when we started dating, she moved to Chattanooga, so I followed her out there.
Where'd y'all meet?
At Martin.
Okay, you went to Martin as well?
Yeah.
Right.
I went for like a year.
Okay.
And I said, then I figured out I could make things rhyme, and they would pay me for it. So, I kind of, I'd always done concrete work and construction work and stuff, and then just wrote songs and everything. And then eventually one day it kind of hit. But, so we met, we had a class together at UT Martin, and they put me in what do they call it, an honors biology class, which I had no business being in anything honors. And somehow I got put in there. I don't know why, I do know why, because that's where we met at. But that was the only time, and I couldn't even copy off of her right. You know what I mean? Like I barely made a D, and she would help me out as much as she could, but it wasn't much helping me on the biology side. But so that's how we met, and then we've been together 10 years, married for 10 years this year, here coming up.
How about that?
So, yeah, and got 2 little ones now. Stella just turned 5 and last week, and then Waylon will be 7 in August.
Okay.
So they're wide open, playing ball. But yeah, that's kind of.
What are they playing?
Stella's in T-ball, which she informed me the other day because they hit a ball right to her and she just watched it. And I said, go get the ball. And she said, no, they'll get it. I said, she's here to hit and wear the jersey.
Yeah.
And now Waylon's really good. He plays 6U ball right now. So, they're out there, and he looks like a little baseball player. I mean, he's pretty good at it. And he likes it, and he enjoys sports. So they kind of, they did horse showing. They do baseball. They do whatever. He played hockey when we lived here in Nashville. So they're into everything, and I, just go along with them, let them figure it out,
Were you an athlete growing up?
Yeah. I played music since I was a little kid, and I was really into that. And then I got really good at football and baseball. And so wasn't too good at basketball, but football and baseball was my 2 strong things. And I did that all the way up to high school and out of high school. And then got into writing music. But
did you go to Dixon High School?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I went to Creekwood when it got built. And I was the second graduating class from Creekwood.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Good deal.
But it was good growing up out there. And we like Chattanooga too. It's pretty cool out there.
What took you to Chattanooga?
Her.
She did?
My wife, yeah.
That's where she
all her
from?
family moved over there.
Oh, okay.
They were from West Tennessee, and then decided, I don't know, they just all started moving out there.
Whereabouts in West Tennessee?
All of her mom's family was from Memphis.
Memphis, okay.
And then they moved out towards, just all around Memphis area right there. And then, I think one granny lives out in Franklin now, but the rest of them all moved to Chattanooga. So.
Chattanooga's a really fun city.
It's a good place.
It's beautiful down there. Mm-hmm. And growing. It's manageable. It's good enough. It's got good food and some other good culture.
Yeah.
Pretty good little music spot. But yet it still feels like a small town. Yeah,
it's got everything you need. I like water, and so I got a boat and everything, and I just like to be on the water, and I like the mountains. So, West Tennessee's pretty flat, and you go out there and you actually got Signal Mountain and Lookout Mountain, all the stuff out there. So I like to go and just kind of sit and look at those, and we'd ride up there and looked at some land and different things like that. But I'll go get on my boat. It's 5 minutes from my house, and I was at the marina there, so I hop on it and just go ride around. Just, it's a good way for me to kind of clear my head and just, I just like being out there. So it works really good, because when I was over here, I'd have to load my boat up and go drive over here and put it in, all that stuff. And over there, I can just go hop on it and take off. So
we got a little spot down at Tim's Ford, down in Lynchburg.
Yeah.
And I'm in the water. I love water too.
I do too. I love Tim's Ford. It's
great
beautiful
lake,
over there.
beautiful lake. Yeah, we got a few other comments in there too that we stumbled upon, which is I now live in Dixon County. I live in Burns.
Oh yeah.
We I've got a farm in Burns, and my wife and I moved out there about 3 years ago, which is how I stumbled upon Bob and Karen.
Okay, yeah.
And but I grew up in Hornwall, Tennessee.
Oh,
and but I was in Dixon a lot because my dad had a tire shop in Dixon. He was partnered with George Reniger. I don't know if you ever remember A&R Tire back in the day.
I don't know.
So I'm a little older than you, I think. But when I was a kid, I used to go over there all the time. And Dad would go over there and work tire shop. I'd ride over with him. So Dixon, I've always been fond of. And then I lived in Nashville and I also am a Martin grad.
Okay.
Went to UT Martin.
Really?
Yeah. So all kinds of stuff come together.
Okay. Yeah.
But I've been in Nashville for a long time. I married a Southern California girl out of LA.
Yeah.
And I never in a million years thought she'd go to a small town.
Yeah.
And I've been itching to get back on some land and a farm ever since I got to the city.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I grabbed a place out there that I was going to develop because I've been kind of working out in Dixon County forever in a little town called Cumberland Furnace, which you've probably heard of.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you remember the old drill yard house that sits in Cumberland, an old historic home, sits on the hill. I acquired that property in 2008. And we put a place called Onsite out there.
Okay.
And we do kind of emotional wellness workshops.
Yep,
and
I heard about that. Yeah.
And I've had that going for quite some time. And so I was commuting out of Nashville, straight to Cumberland Furnace for years before we got an office up here. But I've been itching to get back. And it was funny, we signed a lease on this office 3 years ago, and then I moved 30 minutes west. And so I went from driving an hour to being 7 minutes from my office, and then I moved 35 minutes away. Explain that.
Well, you got to get out of town every now and then. And that was my wife when we lived in Chattanooga. We lived right almost downtown. We lived on the other side of the river from downtown. And I was writing for this label and stuff, and they're like, we really want you to live in Nashville. Even though I'd already written all these songs and different hits and different things, it was like living in Chattanooga, but for some reason everybody wanted me to move to Nashville. So I said, all right. So we packed up and come over here, and we were looking around, and I took her to Burns, and we found this house. We looked at a few others, and we rolled up one day, and this person didn't even want to sell the house, but we knew somebody, and they said, well, you can come look at it. And they threw a number out, and I got it. And it was, right down the road from Bob and Karen's, and had a little land and real pretty. And so I moved her from Chattanooga to Burns right there, and she was like, I don't know anybody. Can't believe you moved me out here and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, well, you'll get used to it. It'll be fun. And so we figured out a few things. We started going and found a little coffee shop over in White Bluff, and we would go ride one of my old trucks or whatever and just ride over there. And we had a coffee day about every day. We'd just go get that, and we'd ride back roads, and we did all these different things. And the kids made a few friends, and in a matter of, 8 months to a year, she loved it. And then we had a few things going on with her work and everything. So it was like, well, we need to move back to Chattanooga. And we thought, well, that'd be fine. We like Chattanooga. We sure do miss Burns. I can tell you that.
Do you really?
Yeah, we really do. And we so much that we went the other day, had to come back over for something. And then I said, well, let's just ride by the old house. And we went out there, and they changed up my landscaping.
Man.
Yeah, it was
Can't
perfect.
do that to a man.
I put irrigation, and they were using sprinklers. I was like, you got irrigation,
It's like an unspoken man rule. Don't mess with a guy's
I had a big old shop in the back, and I had electric and everything going on, and they was changing up stuff with it. I was like, it was fine. It was perfect. But we drove by and see some old neighbors, and they're like, you should buy this house across the road. So there's another house over there. And I don't know. We'll see what happens.
No, wouldn't that be fun if we end up being neighbors?
But it's funny how she hated it. She didn't want to move over there. And then we go, and then now we get to Chattanooga. She's like, I just miss our old place. I want to go back. So the little small town, it's got some charm to it.
It really does. Yeah, it's coming along, and it's kind of I think west of Nashville, the West Corridor is kind of the last undeveloped direction. Every other direction
Let's keep that quiet.
Let's just don't even, let's cut that head.
Cut that out. I agree with that.
Yeah. But my wife was the same way, and we had, like I said, I bought that farm to develop it and put another kind of retreat setting on it, but it had a home on it, and there'd been a family, or the guy that raised the family there for 40 years, and you could just feel it. You could feel like it's supposed to be a place to raise kids. We went out there in the summer, and I'll never forget the look on her face and when things changed. We were sitting at the kitchen table, and it was just she and I and the kids. And I've got that was another thing I was going to say, one more comment. I heard when you were first talking, I was like, man, comment here. But I've got a 8-year-old son, and my daughter just turned 7 this past week. So we're pretty close on that too.
Really? Yeah.
But when we were sitting at the kitchen table, and kicked open the front door and kicked open the back door, and it just kind of had that perfect draft coming
Yeah.
through. And the kids just went, whew. And
Yeah.
it's for the first time we didn't have to get up and go check on them.
Yeah.
'Cause we weren't worried about them running out in the street over here in West Nashville where we were living.
Oh, yeah.
And we sat there for an hour and a half and had a conversation while the kids played outside. And I could just tell her shoulders started to
Yeah.
drop. And she got it. She
Yep.
immediately got, oh, this is what living on land is all about.
Exactly.
It's what small towns are all about. And we've still got our kids up here in school in Nashville because we were so established, but I'm trying to get that migrated out that way too. But for now, it's been cool because for me, coming from a small little town, this is the first driveway I've driven into since I've left home that I say, this feels like home to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, I talked to Bob and Karen earlier, and they wanted me to tell you they really miss y'all.
Well, tell them we said hello.
They think a lot of you, think a lot of your wife.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm interviewing
We were
Larry-
up there,
Larry Fleet
all
today.
the time. Yeah, we was over there all the time. So went to a lot of horse shows with them, and we went out to the World Show in Oklahoma.
Oh, you went to the World.
Yeah,
Okay,
we was
cool.
out there. I brought my bus out. And
Chili's a legendary horse.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. It's doing good.
Yeah.
And, you know, the Western stuff was something that was new to my wife. Like, she's been in the English stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So it was all new stuff. And she was getting into it, but I think deep down she's an English rider. And, you know, it's kind of hard to take that horse because it was meant to do,
Yeah.
you know, Western stuff. But, yeah, we went out there to the World Show and had a big time and brought the bus out there, and we'd go eat Mexican food every night with them, and, you know, just a big old time. So it's fun out there. I enjoy
There's
going
some
to horse
shows in Murfreesboro this weekend.
Oh, yeah, at the what is it called? The Miller Coliseum or
Yeah, I
something
think
like
so,
that?
yeah.
We've been a bunch of those.
Yeah, my 3-year-old's going to be in. I may go see it for the first time.
Oh,
I hadn't got
cool.
to see. They took it to Oklahoma and a few other places, but I hadn't got to see him show it yet.
Oh, yeah.
They won't let me on it yet because I'm not quite ready. They're
Yeah,
trying
well,
to train me.
yeah.
They say, give me a good year and you'll be ready to show him yourself. I ride a lot. I grew up riding. I started on walking horses, and then I've been riding quarter horses ever since. But I just don't have the time to put into it, and don't have the foundation. Like your wife, when I watched her ride just one time, it makes sense because a lot of English riders can jump on a Western horse and make it look easy.
Oh, yeah.
But she just had incredible tempo and rhythm. It was just like, and same when you watch Bob and Karen ride. It's like you're not watching a horse and a rider. You're watching a single being going across an arena, and it's cool to watch.
It is cool. Yeah. I've learned a lot. We had horses and stuff, or my cousins did. We never really had them at my house, but we would ride down the road because my cousins lived in Kingston Springs there. And so we would ride over to their house on my 4-wheeler, just right down the road. And we'd get on these old raggedy horses and stuff, you know. And we decided we was going to be team ropers, me and my cousin. So he'd get on this one crazy horse, and I'd get on this old one. And we had the goat, a billy goat out there. And so we roped this goat, and we'd rope him and we'd jump off and throw him down, tie it up. And we'd do that for hours. And this old goat, man, poor thing. And but we had a big old time. We said, we're going to be team ropers. And we never did. But it was, we did that a lot, and we rode a lot, but I just never had them at the house. We were into sports and 4-wheelers and everything else, you know, anything with a motor, you know. And but we was always around that. And then as I got older, I had a bunch of friends that got into mule pulling. They would go out and had a bunch of mules. We got a mule day in Columbia.
Oh, big time. My brother and
that was a
sister
whole
live in
nother
Columbia.
world. You know, it was really cool. It was fun. And so we was always around it. And then I got in with my wife, and it was serious. You know, mule pulling's about drinking beer and hanging out with your buddies and, you know, see if your mule could pull a log, you know. Yeah. And then you get out there, and it's like, no, you got to grim them a certain way. You ride a certain way, you do this, and like nobody eats. I was like, I'm starving to death over here. And it's like, no, we can't eat. We got work to do. And it's like, oh, this sucks. You know? But I started figuring it out. I started bringing my own bus, you know, and I'd go eat when I wanted to and doing my own thing, and it become fun. And the kids enjoy it too. But it was a learning experience for me. So
yeah. Now, do you still got family in Dixon?
Oh, yeah. My whole family lives in Dixon.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Pretty much around, well, they're all in Dixon County, Charlotte and White Bluff and Burns area. So, did you ever go to the Catfish Kitchen over there?
Oh, yeah.
That's one of my stomping grounds there. I still have I set the record there for eating the most fried quail one night. So, yep, 21. So,
how come that didn't make the bio?
Yeah, well, I know.
That should have been right up there with number ones and all the awards.
Yeah, I know. So, yeah, fun fact. When I was in high school, they had all-you-could-eat quail.
Yeah.
Because they got all unique fried catfish, but they brought the quail out. And I was like, well, that'll be fun. Try me some quail, and I loved it. But then you got a biscuit, mashed potatoes with gravy, brown gravy, and then all these fried quail. So I go in, and they give you 3 quail to start with. While I eat those, and while I was eating them, I said, go ahead and bring me another order. So I just kept them going. And I played ball when I was in school, so I was a big kid, and still am, but a different big then. And so Don, who owned the place, he came in and said, how many you at right now? I was like, 15. He said, all right, we're going to cook some more. And finally, I got to 21 one night, and I said, let's cut it off there, So I ate a whole covey of quail, knocked out the whole thing.
I love quail.
Oh, they're good, real good.
Incredible. I had the only food eating contest I ever, and I'd almost forgotten about this. And I have never been an eater that could consume a ton because I've always had kind of weird stomach issues, but I'm also crazy competitive.
Yeah.
And so it's like, give me a challenge and I'm going to beat you to the punch. But I did it until I was sick. I mean, I thought I was going to die, but it was at Hooters and it was wings. And it wasn't like a big community thing. It was just a small inter-office deal, but there was 10 guys and I was going to win that thing.
Yes.
I forgot. I think it was 47 wings.
Wow.
That I put down. And I was sick for 3 days
Yeah,
after
oh, yeah.
First and last time I did an eating competition.
I did the same competition. I went to the Hooters downtown, the 2nd Avenue.
That's where I was, yeah.
And so I was down there, and on Wednesday nights was all you could eat wings. And so
You're getting ready to one-up me, aren't you?
Yeah, I hate to, but I got you outweighed a little bit. But it's we went up there, me and my buddy Lee. Lee was the same size as me, about an inch taller. But we get up there, and we was going to see how many wings we could eat. And we both ate 76 or 70-something, wow. 71, 76, something like that. And he had to call out of work the next day. And so, but we did it. We got our picture put up on the wall.
You had a wing over?
The Wing King. It was a wing over for sure. But now, I tell that story all the time because we were going a lot. And but then I did that. I got my picture on the wall. And then this other dude, he had to been 500 plus. The next week, 101 wings.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
101. Wow, he doubled it. I couldn't imagine. I don't know if I'd walk out.
That's a lot of breaded wings too, man. That was, that wasn't the naked wings. That was the breaded wings. So that dude was a hoss, but
I'd say
101. Yeah.
Well, it's cool to have so much in common. I talked to all kinds of people from all over the place, but I felt the same way when I was in your album earlier. It just felt like home. Every turn that you took us on, in more ways than one, because I'm a small town guy, Tennessee Southern guy that does something that a lot of people grew up where I grew up just doesn't do. And sometimes I'm a bit of an anomaly because I'm over here working in mental health and wellness and emotional health, but yet I'm a country boy that hunts and fishes and rides horses and does all the things. And so a lot of it doesn't make sense. But you did a collision here, I think, where you're talking about meaning and value and grief and love and heartache, and you tied it all to the roots of the culture in which you grew up in. Yeah. So I got to tell you, I listen to a lot of records. Ironically, I've crisscrossed with your industry so much that I didn't mean for this to become a music podcast, but weirdly it's kind of becoming one because I've had so many artist buddies and songwriters on here. And I just had said to Ashley, my colleague over there, I said, I got to get some better speakers in my office because I end up getting to listen to so much work when I'm interviewing people. But this was an easy one for me to get through. Beginning to end, it feels like it's almost like a little documentary, just told a story. I don't know if you laid it out that way on purpose, but it was.
And it's only 11 songs, so you can get through it. And I think that, well, I mean, like baseball on the radio, I remember riding around in my dad's truck. And I tell this story at
S10.
The S10, yeah. And I have a little S10. That was my wife's granddaddy's truck. And so it's getting a new motor put in it because it was too slow. But I remember riding in the back of this old truck, and then, and he had all kind of different trucks that we ride around in. And I tell the story at my shows, and I was like, I think this was back before it was against the law. I don't think you can ride in the bed of a truck anymore. Or I know kids can't, or at least they told me they can't.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I guess. Because I say, I
didn't say, matter of fact, I hadn't seen anybody on I-40 in the back of the truck in a while.
I know, yeah.
But
I used to see them
growing up, that's what we did.
Everybody rode in the back of the truck.
Yeah.
And when we roped that goat all day, we had to ride in the back of the truck, like no lie. My aunt wouldn't let us in the car. So we were riding in the back of the truck all the time. And we would listen to radio, and he had that sliding back glass open. And, I find these little things like, his Timex shining through the, sliding back glass, all these different little colors, I call it. And it's like, that is, if I can picture that, good chances are somebody else has that same type of memory. And so, and if they don't, they can see it. And so I try to paint the picture, and it's, there's not a lot going on about the song. It's literally about small town living, playing baseball, listening to baseball on the radio, riding around with your dad. And, but yeah, I tell the story about when my mom would pick us up from football practice, and the whole football team pile up in the bed of this truck, and we'd say, "Mom, jump the railroad tracks." And wide open, she'd jump the tracks. Everybody's just hanging on for dear life. And I was like, I tell the story at the show, I'm like, I don't think my mama loved me at all. And now that I look at it, yep, she didn't. And, but no, I mean, I remember those little things. And then I start telling these stories, and I start playing the songs, and people are like, oh man, that song got me. Baseball on the Radio is one that gets a lot of people because it literally is just nostalgia wrapped up in a 3-minute song. And it paints all the pictures of small town life or wherever you're from. But, the baseball field and Code Red Mountain Dew and, Big League Chew and like all these different things. It's like everything about growing up. But then you got, more of that, which is the first song on the record. Talks about going into the bank with your little boy. And that's, my little boy, like I said, he's about to be 7, but, we get up, we get dressed, whatever. If he's got school pictures, he's like, blue jeans and boots. I'm going to wear my blue jeans and my boots. Can I wear my blue jeans? Yeah, put them on. And so he's very much like a country boy, but he'll hold the door open for people. He does, it's like little things. We need more of that in the world. And so I'm living life and finding the colors in there, and then a cool little title, and I'm writing my life stories, which more times than not, it's a lot of other people's too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love the title, Another Year Older, and I love the first 2 that you mentioned. There's a few I want to get into, and there's a few, honestly, that got me. I was a little further in, a couple that really got me, but when I say got me, I mean it provoked emotion. Yeah. And I found myself in tears on, I'll tell you which one now, but I honestly don't want to tell you just yet. I want to get back to another Year Older.
Oh, yeah.
Whew. And 525 too, dude.
Yeah.
Man, I want to ask you a little bit more about those in just a minute, but well, since you just talked about your son, let me ask you this. I was going to wait and get into this for a minute too, but I'll go ahead and get into it now. But talk about being a father and becoming a dad and how that experience has been for you. Has it changed you in some ways? And tell me more about it. And also, has it changed your craft in some ways?
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's see, post or pre 2019, because that's when he was born, there was a lot of beer drinking songs, and there was life songs, but I didn't quite know anything about fatherhood. It was just, you're writing about what you know at the time. And I think, a lot of like younger artists that are coming up, that's what they're writing, and that's what they're playing their likings, because that's what they're into. They go to party and have fun and whatever. And as soon as we, started, when my wife got pregnant, it was like, okay, well, things are changing now, and you start, getting baby rooms together. You're doing all these different things, but then you notice, like, kids give you tons of titles and ideas and like little things they say. So I pretty much just hang out with them, and I listen to what they're telling me about. And you find like little clever things. Like there's a song on there. It's called "Whole Lot of Little Things," and it says, "Cheese dip on a Saturday night." Cheese dip on a Saturday night, a couple high chairs in the kitchen. We eat Mexican food so many times a week, it's ridiculous. And so much so that we have a Jack Russell, and we named it Cheese Dip, and it's a girl. And it's like, so, I mean, right there, you find these little things, the things that they name a dog, or the way they'll say a thing, or all these different little things. So I just kind of stockpile them in my brain, or I'll write them down on my phone or whatever. But they give me so many ideas, and you end up getting more of a, there's funny things to write, but there's also a softer side, and you find meaning in things. You find a lot of color. And so kids are really good at coloring and painting. And so if you pay attention to that, it'll help you kind of color up a song too, So
Yeah, I think you said it really well. It seems like as you get a little more wisdom and experience in life, as you get more experience in life, I do think you get a little bit more wisdom, but your lens changes. And I think you can develop a little bit more biases because you've just experienced so much of the world. And I think life is meant to have us ride a roller coaster of adversity and hopefully you hit some sweet spots along the way. But I've noticed that I didn't know it until I had kids, but that I had gotten so much less curious than I was when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And you start seeing things a little bit more in a black and white nature, but you've got a great line in there too about your favorite color being gray.
Yeah.
But you're right. When kids come through the world, it's almost like you start seeing life through their eyes and they bring everything back into color.
Yeah.
Because they're genuinely just curious humans. You kind of feel the pressure of like, well, when you become a parent, you hope you have a lot to offer and teach this kid that'll help their development. And I had no idea how much of a trick God was playing on us when he reverse engineered the idea of a parent-child relationship, that you become a student again. And you're like, actually, this little one's got more to teach me than I do it.
Oh,
if I'm paying attention.
Yeah. Well, and the things that they come up with, like the questions they'll ask you and stuff like that, that is a game that we play all the time. Stella, she's constantly, like she's 5, she's turned 5. So Waylon thinks he's smarter, which he's a year and a half older. So he is on some things. But it's funny just the way their mind works. And so she'll ask me questions constantly about, well, Dad, what did God do to your hair? And I was like, well, it turned loose. I don't know. And well, how did he make skin? And I said, I honestly don't know. Well, how did he put the blood in your body? I'm not sure. Like it's like these kind of things. Or why does, this beetle on the ground, why does it look like it? Like they're noticing every detail, which as we get older, we skip over details. You get to the point. And so it helps me as a songwriter because writing a song is all about detail. And, sometimes you just want to get to the point. But for them, they find every little grain of sand. It's every hair on your head. Everything they're paying attention to all these little minor things, and it's big to them. We just kind of look over it, but it's very new and it's fresh to them. So, and I've always said, like, as you get older, years go by quicker because as you get older. But like for them, you remember when we were kids, summer break felt like a year long. And now summer break is a matter of a few weeks, and it's like, golly, that thing flew by. But for them, time is different. And so they're paying attention. Like days are longer to them. Everything's longer. They hadn't lived. They hadn't seen everything. They hadn't understood everything. So they ask a lot of questions, and it gives me tons of ideas. And I like talking with them because I don't know everything. But, especially – how did God put blood in your body? Who knows? Like, how did he make us? Well, I breathed us in, some dirt, and it's like, so I'm trying to like figure these things out and talk with them. But then they say a lot of funny things, and the confidence of them is amazing to me. And as we get older, like finding confidence in things, like, I tell my wife sometimes, I'm like, in order to do what I do, you have to, either have fake confidence or you got to have a little bit of an ego just to be able to do it, because if you're going to walk out on the stage in front of however many people, that's a nerve-wracking. And you sort of have to shut that off and say, well, I deserve to be here. Well, none of us deserve to be anywhere. But it's like that you have to do these things. Well, with them, they have confidence. And I love it because he'll come in, my boy will come in and he'll say a word. And I can't think of one right this moment, but it'll be completely wrong. But he says it with conviction, like, hey, this is this word, and then it's not even nowhere near right. And but you can't tell him any different, he knows it. And I'm like, man, if we had half the confidence, man, people would be a lot better off, And a lot of kids, not all kids, but a lot of kids have that. And they just, and it's courage, even though they're afraid of the dark. They have a lot of courage to go walk up and hang out with some kids they've never even met and be like, hey, you want to play? If I walked up to you, we never met, I'm like, hey, dude, you want to play? Like, that'd be weird, But for them, it's like, yeah, I'll play, let's do it, And so it's really cool seeing them. And I tell my wife all the time, like, she's more business minded and she's type A, and I'm the social butterfly creative guy. And I'm like, look, whatever we do, we got to let our kids be creative and don't take that from them, like, don't shut it down, let them think it out, And I'm not saying that she does, but I'm just, as a general thing for both of us to remember, it's like, let kids be kids and let them figure things out. And if they want to make up whatever and play dress up, and Stella's into makeup, and they come up with these storylines. I'm like, and my little girl, being 5 years old, is already writing songs. And like,
wow,
every day, just coming up, her imagination is running wild. And I think as we get older, we sort of get our imagination beaten out of us a little bit. It's like, you got to, hey, here's your path. You're going to do this. School it'll pull it out of you, There's a lot of things that will kill creativity. And so I try to make sure that I don't let that happen, even with school and different things like that. Like, let them be kids and let them be creative and figure it out and come up with their own little stories. And it's cool to see what they come up with, because they're constantly drawing and making pictures and, singing songs and I've written songs with my kids, and it's fun to watch them just make up random stuff, One of my best songs is the bee song. There's a bee in the house, flying all around, just landing on the couch. Oh, no, there's a bee in the house. That's a hit song. And
that's a kid's book too, man.
Yeah, it's a kid's book. So, it's little things it's simple. And to write a kid's song, you really have to you have to think about it, because like the inner songwriter in you wants to be like, oh, we got to really songwriter this thing up.
You got to punch yourself.
Oh boy, we got to. No. You want to make the easiest rhyme possible, and it doesn't even have to make sense. But for kids, it's easier for them to remember. But that's a different subject there. But yeah, that's the kids. Really, I learn a lot from them, and they're learning from us too. But there's a good point in there to let them be kids and let them figure out stuff and be creative and be a little dumb. Just let them have fun.
There was a lot in there, but my two, we're trying to do the same thing. We're just trying to let them have space and be curious. My wife's a creative by trade, and so let them be creative and open up their spirit and participate with them in it and try to get down on their level and enjoy it.
Yeah.
I find that with you as a songwriter is that you don't have any clutter in your lyrics. Well, they're straight to the point. And to me, I like to write not songs, but I speak a lot and I write a lot. I love storytelling, and it's hard. It's hard to take the complication out of a story and make it simple, so that it can land.
That is something that I've worked on. I guess it's early on. I want to be a hit songwriter. That's what you want. You want to write the hits, and you want to be known as the next Bob Dylan or something. But I'm not Bob Dylan. What I am is I've figured out how to make songs simple. But think about it. When we go and we're talking to one another, I don't care how smart you are. Most of the time, when you're talking to you and your friend or whatever, you're just talking like normal people. You get to the point, you say what you got to say. You say it in a normal way. Every now and then I get lucky and I'll say something colorful, and it's like, well, that sounded like a song, But for the most part, you're just speaking normal. And, on this record, on, my song Working Man I got, it's like 4 a.m., Lord, don't it come way too soon. It's literally how you would talk to your buddy. And what I found works for me, not everybody, but for me, is the simplicity in it. And so there's no need to church it up. Let's just say what we got to say here, and you can find the right hook to make your hair stand up, then you're on to something. And so anytime I've ever tried to I call it songwriter a song, and it's like, I'm like really painting, and I'm adding every adjective you can imagine in here, and it'll go right over somebody's head. And nobody really cares about that. They want the point. What are you talking about here? They don't want to have to think about it too much, and neither do I. And so I learned to kind of simplify a lot of things, and I write with really good songwriters. So we're able to take these, and I tell a lot of people I write with a lot, I'm like, this is good, but let's make it simple. We're complicating this thing too much. It feels like work. We don't want that, And so we'll back off a little bit and just make it simple. More times than not, I've talked to people like, man, they'll say that same thing about the way you say it, man, it's just simple. Just right, Well, yeah, there you go. And you're able to understand it. You don't have to think about it too much. And it says what needs to be said. And then you're on to the next one. But that is something that I've worked at. And I watched a lot of people coming up. I was not a good songwriter. And that's one thing I really wanted was to be a good songwriter. So I watched every guy who had written all these hits, like I'd go and sit and watch writers' rounds and just learn. And then I would go, when I got my confidence up, I would go get in a writer's round. And then I would just get murdered out there.
Yeah.
Because I was terrible. Then I would take that and I'd go back and I'd say, oh, well, I'm not going to be as bad next time. And I'd go back and I wouldn't be as bad. And then after a few years, I might stumble up on a good song. And then I'd go in and somebody would say, hey, man, it's a good song. Well, all right. Well, then you write 100 more bad ones, then you get another good one. Then the bad ones start getting less and less, and you start writing really good songs and pretty good songs. And then every now and then you write a crappy one, but that's part of it. And so I think the more you write and you find your path and your style, and that's my style. I know what I'm writing, and I know who my audience is, and that's what I do. I'm not trying to be Bob Dylan or whatever. I just write what I know how to do.
Trying to be who you are.
Yeah, I'm just doing what I do. And,
did you have any of the earlier rounds that you went and saw? Were there any standout influences that you just hard to shake?
Oh yeah, Chris Stapleton was one.
There's one.
Vince Gill. I went and seen him playing with they were called the Time Jumpers back and it's been years ago, but sat and watched them and then, Stapleton.
What venue? Do you remember where the Time Jumpers played?
They were at
I remember
Station Inn.
Station Inn. I saw them there too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I got to go back and meet Vince years and years ago, and he was real nice.
He's the nicest guy.
He's great. And then we've now hung out a few times. I played the Opry a bunch of times now, so he's usually up there at the Opry, and we'll sit and talk a little bit. And real nice guy, but a real talent too. I'm trying to think of a few, but of course, Stapleton always stood out. And then I walked in somewhere, I can't remember where it was at, and it may have been Station Inn.
Yeah.
And I just think, dadgum, man, who's this dude, But then I'm drawing a blank on some names, but they would play their songs that they had written, and I was just like, wow, what a song. And then you remember hearing that as a big hit on the radio,
right.
Whatever. And then you would watch and you would figure out what they're doing and learn from them and try to talk to them, And I remember going to the bars and just like, here comes an artist or whatever. I'm like, that's cool. But then I'm like, oh, that's a songwriter over there that wrote, Friends in Low Places, whatever. And it's like, let's go try to talk to him. And so I was always drawn to the songwriter more than I was the artist. Yeah. And even in my career, I'm that way. Like, I like songs. And I really like the craft of songwriting. And I think the songwriting craft has changed over the years too. It's a little more about numbers now, and here's a formula, and plug it and play. And where I had to learn, forms, and this is a structure, and this is what you do, and dig here and find this, and really dig deep on this. And a lot of, it's just the way it goes, but things change over time. But I worked really, really hard to be a songwriter. That's what I really cared about.
There's some great ones out there. Tom Douglas has always been a North Star for me.
Yeah.
I just absolutely love his work. But yeah, we could go down. We could probably do the Mount Rushmore of songwriting in Nashville, which would kind of be fun.
And I've written with a bunch of them. Like I got a few favorites I love to write with, and it was cool when I finally got to write with them. Mm-hmm. And it was like Connie Harrington. We wrote Where I Found God together and Earned It, and a bunch of others. One of my all-time favorites, because we'll get in a room, and I know when she starts crying, we're on the good one.
Yeah.
Like, she'll cry. And so I'm like, okay, we're on to something. And I'm a sympathy crier, so she gets to crying, I'll get tearing up. And then it's like, what are we doing? And but then you got, Rhett Akins, he's a monster of a songwriter too.
Rhett's incredible. Rhett's a fascinating guy.
I love it.
Because You ever get into history with him?
Yeah.
That dude, he's brilliant
Yes,
with
he
history.
is.
I mean, he's brilliant with a lot of little things, but he's got an unusual mind that he can recall just about anything. You want anything about the Civil War.
Yeah.
That guy knows everything about it. But he's also a brilliant storyteller.
He is. And we hit it off the very first time we wrote. I remember the guy I was writing with said, we're going to write with Rhett today. I was super excited. And because I've been a fan of his when he was an artist, And he said, now Rhett's a little different. And I said, okay, how so? He goes, well, you'll see. I mean, he if he doesn't like you, you're gonna know it.
You're gonna know it.
And I was like, okay, well. And he said he might be a little standoffish, or he might just not say much, and kind of act like he's in a bad mood. But it's just Rhett. And I was like, dang, all right, then I was nervous. I was like, what if me and him don't get along, Well, then he come in. And he, how you doing? We sat down, did the whole thing, We sit there for a minute. And then I said something, or one of us said something, and it was a quote from the movie Sling Blade. And then all of a sudden, I quoted, and we got to going back and forth and laughed. And next thing you know, we were best buds. And every time we've written a bunch of songs since then. And we've done the Opry together. We've been out. We've done all kinds of stuff. And he'll call me. One day we wrote a song. And then, it had to have been a month or two later, he called me one day. He said, what you doing? I said, no, I'm about to go cut this song. He goes, well, good. I'm just thinking. He said, I'm right here riding my tractor. And I was just thinking, you should do this, this, and this. And word for word, nailed it, not looking at anything, not listening to the song, remembered in his head how the melody went, every single word of the song. His memory is incredible.
It's remarkable.
I can't remember what I have for breakfast. And he's like, he can remember a song and he's written 200 more songs since then. Yeah. And he knew every word to it. I was like, man, this guy's crazy. But then he'll randomly, I'll be sitting there, it'll be 10 o'clock on a Wednesday night, and I'll just get a random text from Rhett, and it'll be Doyle Hargrave sitting in the seat, and say, some Sling Blade quote or whatever. I'm like, and so we've gotten to be good friends over years, but I really looked up to him and Jamie Johnson.
Love Jamie.
We've written some good stuff together and had a lot of fun together.
Yep.
So a lot of the guys that I really looked up to, I ended up getting to be friends with them through the years, which was really cool. And James Otto is another great talent. I love him. And and then there's Luke Laird.
Luke's incredible.
Barry
Salt
Dean.
of the earth.
Oh, great
Very
people.
Good gracious. Yeah, you're hitting through Hall of Famers now.
And we've been writing a bunch of, like me and Luke and Barry Dean wrote Hotel Bible on there. And
that's so
we
good.
wrote Hard Work and Holy Water. So a lot of those guys are my favorite ones to write because they're outstanding writers.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
And I get to come in and throw a few lines in there, and then it makes me look smart. You know what I mean? So they do a good job of that.
You are smart to surround yourself with people like that.
Well, that's what I've done good at, I guess, because they're great. They're better writers than I am, and they're really, really good.
Legendary storytellers. I love that. You're in good company, which helps me explain a little bit. It was just so good. But you said a couple of things when we were talking about being a dad.
Yeah.
It reminded me of some of the work that I get an opportunity to do, which is, I think psychology and therapy and counseling, coaching, strip all that back, just helping another human being going through a difficult time. And sometimes maybe not even going through a difficult season. Maybe they just want to optimize and live a better life, whatever it might be. We intersect with people in all kind of interesting ways. We too can really, really overcomplicate our craft. We can take 9 evidence-based therapeutic modalities and try this is the last one, and usually we camp out on the one we feel the most. It's like this one is the one that's really going to work, and they're all good. And I've got tons of master's level therapists that are some of the best in the country that work with us at Onsite, and I don't want to diminish or minimize the trade or a lot of the training that I've had. Right. But you start, as the years go by, the training starts to become secondary to just showing up as a human being. And you realize it's not as complicated as we make it. If you can sit and listen and be present for somebody, and if you have an innate belief that they have within them what they need to grow, change, and heal and do what they need to do to work out the challenges in their life and live a good life, then the pressure's off you. You get to be a guide. You don't have to be the hero of somebody's story. You get to join them. And I think people with a good pen, good songwriters, you do the same thing. You realize I don't need to be the hero. I need to write a relatable story that anybody can feel like it can accompany where they are in a certain period of their life. And and really that's what good good therapy is. And you talked about kids and how curious they are. And a big part of what we do often is when it's kind of funny what life does. It feels like we start and end in a pretty simple way.
Yeah.
And then in the middle, we get really congested and it gets pretty complicated.
Kicking bottles over here. Yeah.
That's all good. And in the middle, when it gets complicated and life does what life does, which nobody escapes adversity, nobody gets to escape stress. We all go through certain seasons, and that ends up compounding. And that black and white frame, which we start seeing in the world, it starts to dull a lot of life. And inevitably, a lot of the tools that we use therapeutically is trying to get people back to their kid. You know, and there's terms for it that I don't even like using because it's kind of just off. It's not branded super well because you kind of get the internal eye roll when you say things like inner child work. They're like, oh, I heard that crap before. And it's but the reality is we do a lot of that. We do a lot of like, hey, you remember when you were 8 years old? Let's talk about a story when you were 8, when mom was jumping the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
That 8-year-old is still a part of who you are today.
Yeah.
And you can reintroduce him at any time. It's, you know, I love, there's an old saying, there's never too late to have a happy childhood.
Yeah.
Even if you had a shitstorm of a childhood you grew up in, you can go back and grab that little kid, pull him up out of that situation and remind him as a 40, 50, 60-year-old man or woman that this guy deserves to breathe. This little girl deserves to breathe. Mm-hmm. And we call it things like inner child work, but at the end of the day, it was interesting the way as a father you framed the experience of how you are relating to your kids and how simple and how clear it is. And all I could think about is that's really what we do with people when we're trying to support them, trying to anchor them back into that season of life so that they can clear the clutter and get clear and simple about how they're moving in the world.
Yeah. I mean, and think about it too. Kids, they don't know nothing about paying bills. You know, they don't have these stressors that you're talking about. Like as we get older, we put a lot of stress on ourselves. And I always joke around too, because my bass player, we call him Crazy Legs. He's the dancer of the band, and and he's wild, and I love him. But he's 53 years old, and so he's the oldest guy in the band, but he's got the most life out there. And we talk about these things, and it's like when you're a kid, you don't really know about paying bills or the stress of wondering if you're going to have enough money to cover this or whatever. And money does a lot, it creates a lot of stress, whether you got a lot of it or not. But it's those kind of things that you don't think about when you're a kid. And then when you get older, I remember being 18, 20 years old and thinking, oh, I ain't never going to get through this. This is the worst thing ever. This stupid old girl over here has left me high and dry. You looking back like, thank God she did, that was a terrible move, but all these moments that seem so big in your life and I don't know how I'm ever going to get through this. You give it a few years, you look back and say, well, that wasn't nothing at all. And we've learned those things too. And kids don't really know that. I remember like jumping railroad tracks, or just going out running. My granny lived next door. Grandparents did. And they had a washer and dryer, but I don't know why, but she hung up all the clothes on a clothesline. And we would run through them as a kid. And she'd come out and just yell because we'd get her clothes dirty, the sheets or whatever. But there wasn't but 5 or 6 acres probably right there. But it felt like 500 acres.
Wow.
And it was just perspective of kids because we could run for days on 5 acres. And nowadays it's like, I can mow that in one afternoon. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like
bat-winged bush hogs.
Yeah, I mean that's quick. That's nothing. But it's perspective of kids, and then as you get older, but that's a good point of bringing it back to a kid, which is what I do in these songs.
It is. We
can bring, if you're having a crappy day or whatever, we can bring you back to when Mama's jumping the railroad tracks in the truck, or Dad's smoking Marlboros in an S10.
Yeah,
and. Big League Chew. That's a nostalgia thing.
It is.
And, Code Red Mountain Dew. My bass player went and got one the other day because we've been singing this song a lot. And he's like, man, I had to go get me a Code Red Mountain Dew. He said, I forgot how good it was. We hadn't had that since high school, And so.
That makes me think of Sun Drop.
Sun Drop, yeah. I mean, Grape Crush, Yeah. The list goes on. But there's so many things that can, smell, taste. I mean, all these different things can bring you right back to a certain point. And it's good to go back to a happy part of life because we're adults. We do got a lot of stuff, a lot of stress on us, whatever. But it's good to kind of get rid of it for a minute and go back to a happy time.
Well, I think it's something we can aspire to. If you're listening to this episode, and I'm learning, from a creative songwriter that I just met, about how important it is to simplify things, especially as you're telling stories, but especially parenting. And I think at any point in our life when we're feeling flooded and overwhelmed, what is one step we can take, one thing we can do. And for me, often it is music. Like I can turn on more of that and immediately feel some gratitude.
Yeah.
I can turn on baseball on the radio and feel some nostalgia, and get a snapshot. I can turn on Hotel Bible and think about redemption.
Yeah.
And then these walls could talk. It gets you into kind of some history and being grateful, and then fatherhood and sacrifice, perspective, grief, time, commitment, contentment. I could go on down the list of that's one avenue for me, that when things get loud, when I feel anxious, when I got a lot of stress going on, I used to medicate it in a lot of other creative ways.
Yeah.
And those were fun when I did them, until they weren't fun anymore.
Right.
And then I started to feel like that Hotel Bible.
Yeah.
And it got lonely on the other side of a bottle or whatever it is. And now there are a lot of healthy medicators, what we call medicators too, where you can, regulate a nervous system that feels a little out of sync by diving into a song, diving into an album, taking time, spending time with a kid without a phone, on and on and on. There's a million ways to do it. And I think sometimes we overcomplicate it. And I want to make sure that, I'm not giving a bunch of prescriptive advice, because you can cherry pick what you want out of this conversation. And I think both of us would hope it might be useful in the same way that I hope I'm sure you, with this, I can tell you're a sincere guy, and I would imagine you pour your heart and soul into a project like this, and I'm sure you hope it has a pretty good impact on humanity.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Well, and that's a nerve-wracking thing about being an artist. For a songwriter, we write a song. If it does anything, great. If it doesn't, it's just another song that's stuck in a pile. But when you put them together as an artist and you go record it, and you record it in the way that you think it should be done, and then you put it together, who knows what it's going to do? So people could hate it, or they could love it, make them cry, make them want to fight, whatever. It's like, or they make them want to get online and cuss me out. I've had that happen a few times, but there's all that stuff. It's a nerve-wracking process of putting music out for the world. I love it, but it's every single time, honesty here, it makes me shut down, because as soon as I put something out, I don't want to look at my phone. I don't want to see what people are saying on Instagram. I'm just like, well, they'll let me know what happens, And I wouldn't, when we put this record out, I just kind of sat back and was like, all right. And there's a thing, when you put it out, it'll tell you in real time, your numbers or what's going on. So, which is a good thing when it's going tick, 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 So, and it was, and I was like, okay, well, people are listening to it. But then, I get a text and it's like, hey, you're the #1 country album on iTunes right now. Well, that ain't bad for a self-produced record. So, I guess it's working. But then you're like, well, all right. And then it was a number 12, all genre. So it got a lot of looks at it, and people loved it. And I was like, all right. And then there's stuff in there that people were talking, well, it might be, both sides of the fence might be political. I was like, it's not political at all. It's one of those songs that, is about life, the first line, Daddy voted for Carter, Mama voted for Reagan. Okay, it says that. But the rest of it's about, the kid smoking under the bleachers and the other kid playing football. And we're all.
You personally believe the grass is green on both sides.
Yeah.
Such a good line. I think it's such an important song, because I do think there's a moderate perspective in today's world that's gotten lost. And there's a lot of us that feel orphaned, right now when it comes to the political scene, because it's gotten so polarized. And then that song right there was maybe one of the more relatable songs for me on the whole album. And all I could think about was boy, I wish this could be an anthem that all of us could sing right now. More and more people, I think, need to hear it, because it's got this interesting way of, doesn't make anybody wrong. It's just bringing us together. And again, in a pretty simple way.
And it's very simple. And I knew before I recorded it, it's what I'll do sometimes when I feel good about a song and I want to test it out. I go to one of my shows. And at the end, if it's an encore situation, whatever, I just walk out and I just grab my guitar by myself. And play, tell some stories, whatever, and I'll play some songs. So the first night I went out, I said, here's a new one. We'll see what y'all think. And I played it. And by the time I hit the chorus, they were already singing.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. We get the second verse. They're in it, and I get to the second chorus and they know the words to it. They know what's coming.
That's wild.
And then by the time I got done, everybody was going nuts over it. And I was like, all right, this is a unity song. It's talking about everybody coming together. And we don't give ourselves enough credit that we're more alike than we think, like, of course there's sides or whatever. And, you definitely have people who are, far right or far left, whatever. And I'm going to die on that hill. But I would say majority is in the middle. And, that's what I was hoping would come across is, hey, why don't we love everybody here? Like I can look at, whatever you think and at least listen, and I ain't got to fight you about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I started doing that, and every night, same result. I was like, it's boom, boom, boom. It was big, and people go nuts. And they would hit me up later. Where can we find that song? I said, it ain't out yet. Oh, we got to have it. And I was like, okay, I'm on to something. And pretty much everywhere that I went and I tried it, it worked. Minus Texas. Texas was a little iffy. They were like, I don't know yet. I don't know about this gray stuff you're talking about. But I mean,
that fits Texas brand.
Yeah, and I love my Texas folks. But
me too.
It was funny because I kind of laughed when I come off. I was like, well, it didn't quite hit as good as it did in Oregon the other night. It was. So we got to cut that. We got a lot of a response off of that. We got a lot off of 525, and that was a 100% song about me growing up, and.
That was Concrete guys.
Yeah, still is. And runs Nashville Ready Mix over here.
No kidding.
And,
wow.
And then his dad retired from the concrete business. So, and he told me and my brother both, whatever you do, y'all do not get in the concrete business. And what do? We got in the concrete business. And can't tell me nothing. But we but that song, it was fun because I walked in, I didn't know what I wanted to write that day. And it was me and a couple buddies. We'd been out on the road together and stuff. And there was a whiteboard when I come in, and out of the corner of my eye, I seen it, and I thought it said a timestamp, 525, but it didn't. It was something else that somebody just wrote up a math equation or something. I don't know. And but I seen it, and instantly it went to 525. And I was like, that's what time Dad got home every day. I was like, what if we wrote a song that was a timestamp? And they were like, oh, all right, what are you thinking? And so, 525, beat up Ford pulling in the drive. And all right, that's what he'd do. Me and my brother, we'd run and hide. Well, because we'd hide in the exact same spot every single day.
Where was it?
Behind
you willing to
the
give your hiding spot up?
Yeah, I guess. And it was a good one.
Was it behind the recliner?
Yeah, so you would come in, it wasn't a huge house or nothing, but you come in the front door, and it was right in the living room, right when you come in. And he had a recliner right here and a little couch. So me and my brother would get behind the recliner. And then he'd open up the door and act like he was oh, okay, I'm gonna come on in, kick my boots off, and then we're like, bah! And so every single day, we didn't change hiding spots, never. And so there's that line in there, and it was just little things like that. And he got home at the same time every day. He left at the same time every day. We would hide in the same place every day. But then we changed it a little bit because it said 525 for a gas station biscuit and Marlboro Lights. And it's like, so then we changed it to money. And it was like, I don't know, I just thought it was a clever song. And, it was very much like how I grew up. I mean, it's a 100% true story. Every bit of it is my childhood. So then I thought, well, how many other people probably lived that? And we have a lot of concrete guys coming out to the shows, and they love that song. And anything to do with concrete or working or whatever, like, they're all in, and I'm their guy. And they can believe in it because I've done it. And so I write songs that way. And, as you get in the business and you get record deals and different things, you kind of get pulled in directions of like, well, this is commercial, or this, this would do good on the radio. And then so you kind of follow these little patterns or whatever. And after, I guess I'm at a point now where I'm just like, if they want to play it on the radio, great. If not, I don't care. Here you go. And so I just put this together with no radio in mind, nothing. Just here's how I feel. Maybe y'all do too. And so that's where this record come from.
Wow.
Yeah.
I respect it even more. Yeah, that 525, I said earlier, it kind of got me. And it didn't hit me until like the second verse that initially it was nostalgic thinking about my dad coming home.
Yeah.
My dad's generation. And I remember how excited we were.
Yeah.
When you could hear it driving the driveway. But then I thought about me coming home as a father. And that's when it got me. Because I thought there's a distinct difference in his generation and my generation, which this is a theory. I don't know how true it is, but I think they were a lot less likely to bring work in the door than ours is, because we got our work in our pocket in this little computer that we carry.
They clocked out.
And they clocked out. And there's so many times that I come home and I'm wrapping up my last call. And it hit me. I was like, I wonder how many times my kid see the truck in the driveway, but I don't get out of it because I'm 10 more minutes on a call or trying to get my last email or text in of the day. And there's anticipation, and I might be killing a moment. And so it wasn't really guilt that I felt in the moment, maybe a little, but it was more opportunity.
Yeah.
I thought there's something consistent about the fact that you remembered that and time-stamped it. That's what I want. I want my kids to time-stamp experiences in our life. And I have an opportunity to create that. Now, my profession doesn't allow me to be that consistent with my coming home time at this season of life, but it could be more consistent.
Yeah.
I could make coming home the experience that they make it for me.
Yeah.
Before it's too late, because they're still at that age where they're still pretty excited to see me. I know it's going to change soon.
Yeah, no, me too. When I come home, Dad, like they're running around. And I've caught myself doing that, being in the truck on the call, whatever. And it's like, well, I got to finish this up. Something important or whatever. And they're like waiting on me to get out of the truck. And it's like, well, hang on a minute. And you're just like, what are you doing? Get off the phone. And it's like, or going and playing ball, it's like, yeah, I run around here. I'm doing this and I'm mentally exhausted all the time because, we just think constantly. That's my job. As I'm a thinker, So I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm talking this, and so there's a lot happening. By the time they get home from their little school, I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm clocking out. You know what I mean? Dad, you want to go play ball? It's like, I just want to sit here, And then it's like, no, let's get up. And so we'll go out and we'll throw ball, we'll mess around, we'll carry on conversations about whatever, and it's fun because. One thing I've noticed too with them, if you do that, they'll start opening up to you. And if you're kind of shut off a little bit or you're in a bad mood or something, it rubs off on them, or for my kids anyways. And so if I've ever, I'll just kind of slow it down and I'll say, all right, well, what's going on? Nothing, nothing. Then you get to cutting up with them or something. And you say, well, what's happening right now? Well, I'm just tired. Oh, okay. Well, what's going on? Well, I didn't get a nap at school today. And it's like, okay, well, so you find these little things and you can get them to open up a little bit and tell you what's on their mind. Because I talk to get through things. My wife is opposite. She'll bottle it up. And we see that in both kids. Now, Stella, she's like me. She won't shut up. She'll just keep going and going and going. And like, Daddy, why don't you come lay in my bed with me? So I go back and I lay with her at night. And I'm like, all right, we're going to watch a movie? Yep, because her and Waylon both sleep in the same room, and they got their little twin beds on each corner. So we have a little TV there, and we'll watch whatever on Disney. So I lay there, I'm like, all right, we're going to watch a movie. We're going to chill out. That'll last about 4 seconds, and then Stella will see. So, Dad, what you doing? It's like, oh, I'm just watching this. What are you doing? Oh, nothing. I'm going to paint your eyebrows for you. And then next thing you know, you've been laying there for 30 minutes and she has just been rambling. And that's the way I am. And I'll sit and carry on with you. Now, Waylon, you go over and he'll shut down. And my wife is like that. And it'll take her a little while to finally open up. And I'll poke and try to make, do a funny Chris Farley thing or something, and then she'll laugh. Then it's like, okay, now what's happening? Waylon's the exact same way. So I'm learning my kids because they're us. And but if you can slow down and open up and just be gentle with them and talk with them, and then they'll start opening up and they'll tell you what's going on. And Waylon has a thing now. He'll say, Dad, you'll come over here and we'll go to the porch. You'll sit and talk. I'm like, yeah, we'll go sit and talk. And he's an old man. he has a rocking chair, and he's like sits, and in the mornings he gets up and he like
can see it. I can see the image.
Yeah, little blonde headed kid, and he just runs over there and he'll sit in his rocking chair and he's, let's just sit and talk. And I'm like, all right, what you want to talk about? And it's like, and it's just random stuff, but just talking and getting it out there, and then other things will come, or it could be kids at school, this other kid, that he's been running with or whatever is a bully, and that's bothering him. And it's like, well, what's going on? Well, he'll tell me a little bit about that. And Stella, she'll take a secret to the grave. Now, if she will not tell on you, she'll tell on her brother. But you can be like, Stella, we're going to go eat ice cream tonight. We can't tell Mom. And she will take it to the grave. Now, Waylon, he can't even make it in the door without telling on everybody.
Don't mean ice cream.
And so, I'm learning my kids, and I talk about it because that is probably a lot of other people. I mean, I would say the rest of the world's probably got kids just like that, and then they can relate to it. So I take stuff from them all the time, and I'm putting it in songs. And when they get older, they're going to be like, golly, Dad, like, you wrote about us a lot, sharing all my secrets here, and on podcasts and talking about it,
Well, I tell you, it's more than kids, I think, because a lot of times people, I'll get an opportunity to sit in front of quite a few people a year, not in this format, but in other formats. And all in all, the organization I help lead sits in front of 2,000 or 3,000 people a year, and really what we could do more than what we could do in their benefit more than anything else is to show up and have them feel seen and heard, valued, and connected. Yeah. And often it's going in with a learner's mindset. Like, I'm very curious about your story, not just the tragedy that might have put you in this chair, your story, because you're more than what happened to you. And maybe that's the reason I'm here is to remind you of that. Yeah. We've all got a story. But I think the way you described connecting with your kids, I really believe in that. And I've sat with some of the great change agents, for lack of a better word, in the world, a lot of great psychologists, therapists, counselors, coaches. And all of them, the longer you're around them, you realize it's really who they are more than what they know. It's going to help somebody get to let their guard down. And I, as I've helped train people over the years and kind of myself, it's bring all of yourself into the room. And if you're not working on reconciling your story, you're going to be not very equipped to help other people reconcile theirs. Because what we're really talking about is an energetic exchange that kids pick up on. It has very little to do with what you say. Yeah. And it's very much, how are you feeling? Are your shoulders down? Are you distracted? Are you frustrated? Are you and the good thing is we can come back from that emotion or that experience at any point, at any time. And I always say it's not about the rip, it's about the repair with kids. If you catch yourself, because there's days I bring work on. Oh, yeah. I'm burned out, I'm exhausted, I'm frustrated, something didn't go well. I was that way this morning. We're doing a renovation. You can just count on construction letting you down. It's just part of it. Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. Yeah, and I was frustrated, and it was all over me. Well, I get to catch that. If in the moment I can see that my kids, they almost will have a little bit of an allergy to it. Yeah. They're like, I don't know that I can consume that. In the same way that you have an allergy to complicated lyrics, I would imagine, is every human has a cognitive load. And you have a way of writing and to where you reduce the cognitive load and make it easy for us to digest, but it's still got depth and meaning. Yeah. Which is an incredibly hard thing to do. There's not many people that can do that. That's why I was so excited to talk to you after listening to this. I was like, look, I've heard some of your other work too. Obviously, when you went super viral with Morgan. Yeah. Where I find God. Yeah. I mean, that still provokes emotion every single time I listen to it. I'll pull it up and just watch it every now and then just because there's something about that moment, the way you two came together on it, the way your voices came together on it. I'm sure a lot of people talked to you about it so much so I tried not to, but I couldn't help it. Yeah. But what was that experience like, and was that one of the moments to where it's like because you talked about the transition from being a songwriter that could stack songs that may nobody ever hear, and then the pressure of being an artist to where you're accountable for the metrics of does this matter or not? Yeah. What's it like to go from that to that? And were there any pivotal moments? Was that one of them where it's like a whole lot more people knew who Larry Freet was after that? Yeah, that was, so, early on, I had another little deal and nothing ever really happened from it. And then you kind of go back and forth. And I originally just said, I just want to write songs. I don't care about singing. I just want to write them.
And then the way for me to get my songs out that I was writing was for me to sing them. That was my path. And so I wrote Working Man, and we put it out, and we got a little bit of buzz off of that, and people were talking about it, and it was a small group. But then when I got my record deal, we put out Working Hard Project, which had 8 songs on it, and it had, some cool stuff on there. I mean, Working Hard was one me and Rhett, we wrote, and I love it. It's a great song, a nostalgia kind of thing, and it was a working man's anthem kind of thing, along with working man song. And so my theme was a lot of working stuff was what I was doing, and I wrote about it. Well, then, so that was buzzing, and we were kind of getting this like underground, like the cool kids like this, and it was just a few cool kids, it wasn't like millions of them. And but we could show up and we'd sell a few tickets here and there, and literally a few. There was nights, I remember went on the road with Willie Nelson, and when I thought I was super famous, I was like, oh, I've made it now. And I come back the next weekend and I played a bar in North Georgia, and 15 people showed up and didn't want to pay $5 to see me. So I was like, well, I'm not that cool. And then, you have all these moments where you're humbled. And I'm so thankful for those, because there's a lot of artists that come up and they blow up and they go viral and right out of the gate, They didn't have the path that I had, where I was writing songs and I was traveling in my Dodge truck, and my drummer worked for U-Haul, so we got a free trailer, you know what I mean? Like, but we were literally 5 deep in a Dodge truck driving all over the country. And then I got with a company called Campers Inn, and they gave me a Winnebago. And so we started, I drove that joker everywhere. And me and the whole band, we'd pile up in that thing, we'd drive. And I was getting no money. I was making no money, but I was having a good time, and I was building a real fan base. So I went from nothing to, at this point, right before Where I Find God, I was, I could sell, 100 tickets, 200 tickets maybe, and a night. And then it was like, all of a sudden, and I wrote Where I Find God back in 2000 and probably 18 or so. And so a couple of years before I even put it out. And the reason why I waited was because there was another big artist, really big, and he took it and put it on hold, and he was going to record it, which at the time I was like, this is perfect for my songwriting career. This is making it, and I'm good now. He had it for a year and never recorded it.
Wow.
Just held it. So when I got a record deal, I said, I want it back. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to take it back. And he said, yeah, you can have it. So I took it back, and I recorded it, and then it got shelved for a year. So the first record, the Working Hard record, I had already recorded that song.
Wow.
And then it was like, well, we'll see what we're going to do with it. So I talked him into releasing it on Good Friday, which was April 10th of 2020, I believe it was. I said, let's put it out then. Well, that was right whenever COVID hit, and we didn't plan it out for that. We had set the date before COVID happened. Well, that just so happens the world shut down, and I had a little video. They gave me $3,000. Most videos cost $50 to $100 for a music video. I had $3,000, and I went and did a video at Lake Martin in Alabama. And we had friends of ours had a place down there. So we just went and spent the whole time for COVID and everything. We was just down there and made this video. We put it up, and the day that Where I Find God come out, and here comes the video, it hit 1 million views on YouTube in like, I don't know, a week or something like it's something crazy, or 2 weeks, whatever. And it was just booming. Well, then radio stations started playing it. Not, when you're supposed to ship a song to radio.
Right.
We didn't do that. They just started playing it on their own. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And then all of a sudden you start seeing everything on the uptick. And Morgan actually called me, I guess the week that it come out, and he was like, man, what a song. What a great song. So we talked, whatever, and I was, appreciate it. And we talked about fishing. And then it was like, didn't think anything else of it. Well, then a couple of weeks go by, and this thing is still cranking. And it's just getting momentum and momentum. Well, all of a sudden, a month or two in, and it's cruising right along. And the record label hit me up and said, we're going to do something with radio with this. So I went on a virtual radio tour, which is terrible. Nobody wanted to do that, including radio. And so we did that, and that song started moving up the charts or whatever. But it's funny because everybody thinks it was this big old #1 hit, but it never even broke top 40.
Isn't that wild?
And they pulled it because the radio, one big conglomerate or whatever, said that it wasn't reactive. It wasn't a reactive song. And a few years later, I went to Australia and I played it for 21,000 people, and they sing every word. And I thought, seems pretty reactive to me. And I've watched it work all over the world. But that was the turning point. That was the moment where I Find God hit that my career changed. And so you watched, 200 people or 150 people show up a night to 300, 400, 500, 1,000, 2,000 people, and so you watched this swing. Well, then Morgan called me one day. I was sitting at the house, and I have this camouflage recliner. I love it. And I was watching Swamp People.
Like real tree.
Yeah. It was at Bass Pro Shop. It's great. It's a great recliner. So I'm sitting there in my recliner. Morgan calls, and I was like, hey, man, what's up? And he's like, hey, I want you to go on tour with me. And this is like towards the end of the year or whatever. He said, go on tour. We start in January or February, whatever it was. And I was like, all right. And this is no lie. Like before this happened, Morgan wasn't much bigger than what I was, like where I am right now. And then I was like, all right, yeah, we go on tour. That'd be fun. And he's like, we're going to be playing arenas. I was like, wow, all right. I just felt like the other day we was playing clubs, and now we're going to an arena. All right. So he said, you down? I said, yeah, I'm down for it. And so anyways, we talked for a minute, and I got off the phone, and my wife's like, who was that? I said, Morgan Wallen. She goes, what do you want? I said, want me to go on tour with him? She's like, really? I said, yeah. We're playing Madison Square Garden. And it was like the first show that we played was 2 nights at Madison Square Garden. So the first night we went out, and everybody's just kind of getting used to it. This is like his first arena tour, And so first night we all go out, and like I didn't even get a sound check. Like it was terrible. But we nailed it. It worked out. But we got everything sort of dialed in. Well, the next night he called me and said, hey, I want you to come up and do a song with me tonight. And I said, what do you want to do? He's like, I don't know, you pick. And I'm thinking like, we're going to go do some old Hank Jr. song or, just whatever. And I was like, okay, I'll come up with something. And I got there that night. I got off the stage, off of my set, and he was getting ready to go up. And he was like, you want to do Where I Find God tonight? And I was like, sure. So we literally walked out at Madison Square Garden. We run through it once. And what you see on the video is what it was.
Wow.
We just walked out and nailed it. And it was like, because I asked him, I was like, what do you want to do? And he goes, well, I just sing that second verse, and I'll sing harmonies with you. I said, you know the verse? He goes, yeah, I know it. Sure enough, walked out, and boom, there it was. And I was like, wow, that sounded really good, dude. We walked off, and I texted him at night. I was like, man, them harmonies are on point. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, it made it on the internet, and it was blowing up. And so every night I would go out with him, and we would sing that song. And to this day, years later, however many years later, 6 years, whatever, we've been doing that every time we're together. We go out and sing that song, and it's wild because his audience is way bigger than my audience. So they know that song, and they think that was his song, which I don't care what they think. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. And it's like, so we go out and they sing it. We played the Carolina Panthers football stadium, and we did 2 nights there, 60,000 people a night. And the stage was back here on the 100, the goal post right here. The other goal post was where this acoustic stage is at. So we had to walk 100 yards to go all the way out there and get on this little bitty stage. And we hopped up there, and you had to have your in-ear monitors in because the feedback, like not feedback, but the delay, when we would sing, it would take, a second or whatever for the sound to actually get to you because it was such a far thing. And so I'm nervous. Like that's most people I ever played in front of. So we're hop up there, and and nailed it. And it was wild because I just locked in my head the very first night. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stare down the barrel here and just, not pay attention to all these people. And so we got the first one under our belt, and then I felt good. The next night I was like, turn the crowd mics up a little bit. Like, I want to hear it. And 60,000 people sang that song. And I was like, whoa, like this is, so I will say that was, when I first went out with Morgan, yes, that boosted that song. And being out with him, our crowds are different, like our fan bases, whatever, but there was a lot of crossover there too. And so going out with him really boosted me up. And he was real nice. He'd go out there every night and say, I think, it's one of my good friends, and he's another Tennessee boy. And, he'd say all these nice things, and he's written one of the greatest songs I've ever heard and all this. He would prop it up a little bit too, And so he didn't have to do that, and that was very nice of him, and I appreciate it. But he definitely helped boost my career right there and give it, some credibility almost. Like, a lot of people that have been listening to me for a while, they already knew who I was, but there was a bunch that didn't until Morgan. And so that helped me out.
There's something about that moment that I think Morgan's a great singer too, very unique.
Yeah.
But part of it's not for me. It's not the tone or the rasp or some of the cool parts about his voice or yours. It was both of y'all that night, that performance. You fully embodied that song. And the story of that song. And you could feel it. But also, because you were so in your body when you were singing it, vocally, y'all went to places that are just wild. Yeah. And I think that was one of those times that for both of you, it was like, okay, here's Larry Fleet and Morgan with the Stapletons of the world and all these other guys that can sing.
Yeah.
And it was, you could feel it. I mean, it was really beautiful moment.
Well, thank you. And it was definitely, a lot of times a singer can get drowned out by a song, because there's so much happening. But when you walk out with two guys and one guitar, you mess up, you're really messing up, And so it showed the talent of both of us and saying, hey, well, they can actually sing and they, halfway pick this guitar, And it really, I don't know, his harmonies and the way everything, it just lined up perfectly. And it definitely opened a lot of people's eyes that thought, oh, here's some mainstream dudes or whatever, but it took us in a different place. And one of the things of like being able to feel it, I remember this, which it was wild because one of the first night me and him were playing, I think both of us just stared straight, because we were just, all right, just look forward and think about what we're doing. And then the next night we loosened up. And we started looking and we'd laugh, we'd cut up, do our thing. But I remember almost every single night when we would sing that song, both of our hair would stand up on our arms when we would sing the song. And so every single night we both get chills at the same time. And I was like, whoa, dude, this is powerful. And so you would see tons of people. I mean, 20,000 plus a night at this point, in the arenas, and hands up. I mean, they're going to church,
Worship, yeah.
And I thought that was such a cool thing. But both of us getting chills multiple times,
That's a cool part of the story. It traces right back to what you said about the energy exchange, and what you said about showing up for your kids.
Yeah.
And I think when a performer can embody a message like that, it creates a ripple out, and it's contagious.
Yeah.
And you talked earlier about being a sympathetic crier. I think you said somebody was crying. So there's actually, in our world, we would call that mirror neurons. Which is you can kind of catch emotion like a cold. And they did this study, I've talked about it on here before, and I'll do a super quick version of it, but basically they used apes or monkeys in this study, and they had them sitting across from each other with no verbal cues, but when one of them would make a motion or some kind of motion with their face, a micro, raising your eyebrows, the other one raised his eyebrows. And then you'd watch that happen, and then so they developed this theory called mirror neurons, and it goes into different cultures to where innately, like in African culture, they knew this a long time ago because they would plant like a wailer at a funeral service. because they knew emotion provokes emotion, and the whole point of a service or a ritual is that allow people to grieve, and to grieve, to cry is a good thing. And that's kind of what it sounds like you guys did that night, is you were feeling what you invited everybody else to feel. And where it's really cool, going down the rabbit hole, it's one thing to do it live. It's another thing to do it so well that it lives on screens, that your kids one day will be watching that video.
Well, they do it at school. So, we're in Chattanooga, so the little school they go to, I'm the only country singer there, you know what I mean? And so their daddy is a singer. And so whenever they go, like, they'll have little movie days, whatever, or they're listening to songs, they pull up my music, or they'll pull up that video, and they'll do different things. And it's a really cool thing for your kids, well, to kind of see what you get to do, but also I'm gone a lot, and, they don't quite understand that, but then when they can see me doing what I'm doing, and I take them on the road with me. But it helps being able to see it live or to see it on screen, helps it too. And I always say one of the coolest things about being a singer, in my opinion, is that for, years after I'm dead or whatever, like, you got my voice. How many other people got that? You know what I mean? Like, that's a pretty cool thing to have. Yeah. So you got, songs or interviews or whatever, and you can kind of run that back. And most parents don't have that. That's right. So it's a pretty cool thing. But one thing I was thinking about, the eyebrows or the chills, is that the same thing as like when somebody yawns? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, similar, very similar. I was wondering that. Isn't that wild? Wild? You always say yawns are contagious. Yawn over there, and I'm like, I got to yawn too. Why? It's weird, Yeah. Huh. That's why I think the presence that we bring into our relationships and in our lives is way more important than the words. Oh yeah. And listen, it's in our profession, it's kind of wild. They did a study years ago where they showed that in a traditional counseling or therapy session, that the facilitation represented about 70 to 80% of the communication. In other words, you were talking 80% of the time. And it's like, we got it absolutely backwards. We got to flip that. And we need to be listening 80% of the time. Because ultimately, like I said in the beginning, I think you've got to have a belief that humans have what they need. And if you can get out of the way of it, just like you can get out of the way of a good song, then it's going to land for them the way it needs to land for them. Yeah. And I got to tell you, what I see was what I hoped I'd see, is a really normal dude that has had, you casually dropping being out with Willie Nelson and Morgan Wallen. That was a big one for me. Yeah. Oh my gosh, man, those are guys I grew up on. Yep. So, but yet you seem to have maintained your normalcy. You're just like, and credit to Morgan too. If you get to talk to Morgan, he's like a guy. He's like your neighbor. Oh, yeah. He's a really down to earth, good guy, laid back, good guy. And a lot of people are. I think it's one of the reasons I love our genre so much. Is you turn the rock over and you're like, oh, there's a lot of me in this dude right here. And I'm curious, I know I could talk to you forever, but we got to land the planes. I'm sure you got other things you got to get to. I know you got to get down the road to Chattanooga, but tell me about your dance with being public or fame. How has that been for you? Has it impacted you in any positive or negative ways? Is it something you like, you don't like? I mean, a little bit of both. I don't know. I still, you're talking about me being normal, or just a regular dude. Well, I think that comes from being humbled a lot because of, the Willie story. And then, you think you're on top of the world. And so I get humbled to this day still. And it's like, but also that fame and all that stuff never really mattered to me. I don't really care about it. I think don't get me wrong, I'm flattered, but I remember the very first time somebody asked me for an autograph, I almost took offense to it. I thought, you coming at me? You know what I mean? Like, what, you trying to be rude here? Like, what's going on? Like, felt threatened a little bit. I was like, and they were just like, no, man, so I'd like your autograph. And like, we're in some random place, there's 30 people, and I'm like, why do you want my autograph, And then I thought, well, they were just trying to be cute, And that's what I thought. But genuinely, they liked me, and they thought I was going to be something. So now, as it went on, and, I started realizing, okay, there's something happening here. And the world started noticing me a little bit. Then when I went out with Morgan, that was insane. I don't know how he does it. It's a whole different level for him. But I picked up some of that because being out with him, and I'm associated with him. So people were blowing me up, mostly trying to get to Morgan.
Right.
And so, but I've seen, all the numbers and all the social media stuff, you'll start seeing followers and all this stuff going up. And that's something I've never been good at, and I don't really like to do it. I like living my life and just doing my thing. But I know it's a very important thing in nowadays. So I was kind of just riding along, and then me and my wife went to Ace Hardware one day. A little plug there. I love that place.
Yeah.
And so I went there, and I had this old Jeep.
Tour sponsor.
Yeah. And so I went there, and I had this old Jeep. And I said, let's just run up to Ace Hardware real quick. So we hopped in. We had the top off the Jeep, just out cruising, doing our thing. And I went, and I pulled into my old spot, and got ready to go inside, and this dude comes out. And I say, dude, he was probably 20 years old. He had his little girlfriend with him, and they went and got in this truck, and he kept looking at me. And again, this is early, and I'm like, this dude got a problem, And then, so I was very standoffish about it, So anyways, I'm like, all right, what's this deal? And then I'm getting ready to walk inside, and he stops his truck. And he comes out, and he gets out of the truck, and he says, hey. I said, yeah. He goes, are you Larry Fleet? I said, yeah. He goes, you mind if I take a picture with you? And I was like, all right. That's weird. Even my wife's like, what's going on here? And so his girlfriend gets out of the truck, and he's like, whatever her name was, will you take it? You want to get in the picture? She's like, no. And she didn't care nothing about me. But he was genuinely excited. And I thought, And so he come over to take a picture of me, and I could feel him shaking, nervous. And so I took the picture, and we walked in, and I said, that was weird, wasn't it? And she goes, yeah, that was strange. And I was like, Then went on about her business. Well, then all of a sudden it started happening more and more. And then I was in Ireland one day, like in Dublin or somewhere. I was walking down the street, and somebody stopped me in their accent. Are you Larry Fleet? Yep. Can we take a picture with you? And it was like, so you started, for me, it genuinely, just sort of got a little bigger as time went on. It wasn't a big pop, just a little bit here and there. But I think me being who I am, and I got my wife, I got my kids, and we're out doing normal stuff. When you see me out in town, I look like this, like I'm usually in a pair of shorts, like I'm a normal looking dude. So I think I'm not intimidating, maybe size-wise, but as far as, some people are super famous.
Yeah. And
they put off that. And I got plenty of buddies, and they walk around in a certain way. And I'm I'm not like that at all. And I think that they relate to me a little bit, and then they also try to protect me a little bit. And I've noticed that being in a community, even where we live, everybody knows I live there. And it is a selling point in the neighborhood. And they've even told me, yeah, Larry Fleet lives in here, and it's like, well, we're going to ride around and see if we can see him. Well, there I am in the yard, and I'm just doing normal stuff. And so it is, but in that community, people look after us, and they look after my wife, my kids. They all know us, and it's not a big deal. Nobody's messing with me. And even when we lived in Burns, same way. Nobody messed with us. Yeah. And I think me being who I am and what I sing about and what I do and in the whole bit, I think it's a little more, it's not a big deal.
Well,
it took me a while to get used to it, though.
I'm telling you, though, man, it's a bit, because I have worked and been around a lot of people at different levels of it, at the highest level, which is it is a very odd thing, and you can I could do a case study on it.
Yeah.
And yet there's something endearing about people who perceivably seem unbothered by it. And I think the unbothered element is another energy exchange, is because when you are fully one of the weird things about your business is, and I guess it's kind of the same with this creative project, is because it's really affiliated with me. I'm the host of this show. And so when I was representing Onsite and other endeavors that I'm a part of, I was representing a product. I was not a product. And in this case, I kind of start to become a little bit of weirdly a product.
Yeah.
And you've, with your music, you're a brand, you're a product. And it's often, that's a dehumanizing experience.
Yeah.
Because you forget there's a human behind this product, not a normal product that you consume. But the people who I think can fully embody who they are, be themselves, then you are going to invite that response from other people.
Yeah.
I've seen, like, there's some, like the Adam Sandlers of the world. I like watching people who can, are mega famous, but they can move about the world just fine.
Yeah.
And it's an energy. It's like, I am fully myself. I'm gonna dress myself, I'm gonna be myself, I'm gonna walk to this pier every day. And suddenly, the media, the attention culture that's trying to make a buck off that, they get tired of it. Because it's like, it's the same guy doing the same thing.
Yeah. And I love that.
Just doesn't sell as much,
Well, yeah, and I think that's a little bit of me too. It's I'm not doing anything wild and crazy. I'm a normal dude that, like, and I like normal stuff, like I'm not flashy, I got a little gold, but it's like, that's hand-me-down stuff, you know what I mean? It's like, and I like gold, but I'm not a flashy dude. I'm just normal. And I walk around town, like, I go to Ace Hardware often. Yeah. And they know me in there. They know exactly who I am. And they've come to my shows, but I go in there and cut up with them. Mm-hmm. And whenever I meet people at shows, I mean, people that are my dad's age or older, and they'll come up and they're just plumb tickled to meet me. And I'm like, well, what I do, one thing that I learned this worked real well is when they come up and I think whenever people try to give me a lot of compliments, like, I appreciate it, but it makes me feel uncomfortable. And it's like, after a while, I'm like, okay, I appreciate that. But what I'll do is I'll say, well, thank you very much, but what do you do? And then they'll say, well, I'm a carpenter or whatever. And it's like, you working on any big jobs? Well, yeah. Well, I got this thing going on. Yeah, all right. Well, and a little kid come up the other night, thrilled to meet me. But he won't tell me about this deer that he killed. And so we talked about deer hunting for 15 minutes, And if you can, it's just, we're all normal. We just get to do cool stuff, And so I try to tell people that I'm like, I like to deer hunt, I like to fish, I like to do everything that you do. And I just figured out how to make things rhyme and I can sing. And, but, if it wasn't for this, I'd still be pouring concrete. And so we're no different in any way. We just got different jobs. But I genuinely want to know about what people are working on. What do you do? What are you into? And then a little icebreaker, especially when you're talking to somebody and they're a little shy or whatever. I'm like, you believe in Bigfoot? And they're like, matter of fact, I do. And it's like, well, let's talk about that. And so I'll find like little things that are interesting, or UFOs, or like something just out there, ghost, whatever. And it's like, because I think all that stuff's cool. And if you believe in ghosts or you believe in Bigfoot, then you want to talk about it too. And then if you don't believe in Bigfoot, then you'll talk about how you don't believe in Bigfoot. So then all of a sudden you've got a conversation going with a complete stranger who knows who you are and is a fan of what you do, but all of a sudden now you're talking about Bigfoot.
That's brilliant. You've kind of taken this nervous, weird moment, because you think it's
for all of us.
You think it's weird for the artist. It's also weird for the fan. The fan, because they're like, and it's endearing at times, and I've seen it go from endearing to a little weird at times. But at the end of the day, it's a human exchange. It's, I value something about you, and most likely, if I value something about you, I've heard it in your art. You represent something that's some part of my story that I have a longing for, and really, what you end up being is just a big mirror moment. You might have a lot of microscopes on you, but really, you're a mirror at the end of the day. Because if you'll get curious and even a nod or whatever you got time for, then you're going to invite them. As soon as they realize there's a human on the other side of the product, they start to the same curiosity, attention they have on you, reverse engineers, and they put it back on themselves. That's the beautiful thing about art. And I think that's one of the reasons why, I said this has become a music-heavy podcast. I didn't mean for it to, or maybe I did, because I think I'm in the business of helping people grow, change, and heal and live better lives. Right. And I like that. I'm called to it. It's a purpose. And I happen to think that art does it about as fast as anything on planet Earth. Yeah. And so I feel like if I can be a helpful part of anybody's story, especially accelerating good art, then it's going to influence a whole lot more people than I ever will. As much as I'd like to think my kids are going to be impacted and influenced by me, they're more more likely to be influenced by Morgan and Taylor and you and all these people that are out putting themselves out there. But I want to say this as we kind of close, which is, I know we're talking about this concept of attention, and but everybody in today's climate lives in an attention culture. I.e., the majority of us are on some type of social platform where we're putting something out there, and even if it's to the 20 people in your family, you're counting on them paying attention to it and liking it or not liking it, or commenting on it or not commenting on it. And I've never seen this so clearly as I'm coaching my son's flag football team in the little Dixon YMCA league.
Yeah.
And I watch these kids, and we're midway through the season, and I'm trying to take them from a me to a we, trying to build a team out of them. But that me's strong because they live in an attention culture to where the only way that I feel value on this field is if I score a touchdown. And so the huddles are, hey, I'm open, give me the ball. And at first I was like, man, how do I get that out of them?
Yeah.
And it's not, and now I'm not, really what they're longing for is, do their parents, does anybody see them?
Yeah.
Do we see it? So I'm beating them to the punch now. Before they even come in there with all that stuff, I'm like, you ran a great pattern.
Yeah.
Great block. I love the way you lined up on the line of scrimmage.
See that chest pump.
Well, it reduces it. It's almost like you beat them to the punch, just like you do when you ask them about it. You say, tell me about the job you're working on.
Yeah.
Suddenly they feel the same value that they've placed on you. And whatever story they make up about them, you said earlier when you put a song out there, sometimes you just don't even want to look at the numbers. And I'm the same way with these. I don't watch any of these episodes back.
Yeah.
Because I'll get in my head and
I don't either.
And I'll start placing an emphasis on the metrics, and I make up a story about what those metrics tell me about my value, which is kind of crazy. It's why I respect that you're choosing an independent route and a solo producer. It's like I'm putting it out there, and I'm doing the same thing. I've remained independent to this day with this show. I hadn't joined a podcast network or anything. I'm super grateful for the ones that have asked so far, but there's something about me that I want to keep this pure and true to me, because I don't just want to add value to other people's story. I want to come out of this a better human for it. If I'm going to spend my time doing it, I'd like to be a better dad when I go home. Better human when I go home. And your album and the way that you write and the way that you sing, I think does that for a whole lot of people. And I don't know if that's why you signed up to do it. You might have signed up to do it because as a kid you could not do it. It's like I'm supposed to be putting music into the world. But I believe you're one of those that has impact-based music. Because and even talking to you here for the last couple of hours, you talk in story. It's like we'll get on a topic and everything is just a story, and you got time for all of it. So it's just like you kind of relax into this story that you're telling and walking around with. And it's a pretty cool thing, and I'm thankful you're sharing some of it with me and my audience today.
Well, shoot, I learned that from, the old guys, my dad included, like I learned storytelling from him. But then my granddad used to take me to a barbershop. They called him Creepy. And he had to have been 150 years old. But they would go up and all
the barber?
The barber. Yeah. And he had like 2 haircuts, a buzz or a flat top. That's what you got, maybe a high and tight 3. And so we would go, but all these old men would just sit around in this barbershop and, they're smoking, they're carrying on. And this is, late 80s, early 90s, and they would just tell these stories. And I remember hearing, my granddaddy was a logger a lot of his life, and I got my size and everything from him. He was this big old dude. And evidently he was strong as an ox in his prime. And all these guys would sit around and talk about how strong he was. And they would tell all these stories. So I learned storytelling, and I talked just like my granddaddy did. Back then, you couldn't understand a word that I said. It was so country. And, I learned this from storytellers. And then there's a lot, like I've said a few times today, it's like there's a lot of color in, you can find like little bits and pieces and turn it into something, and find humor in like little things and make it up. It's like, it's fun for me to talk that way, because a lot of people are to the point. This is what it is, boom, 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 and then you're done, and you have another hour and 58 minutes to sit here. You know what I mean? And it's like, I like to find all the little details and talk about it. And I've learned that from my dad and my granddad and all the guys at the barbershop. And when I meet people on the road, also it's nice to, like you said, for them to feel seen and get attention, because we do live in a world that we're all about, people are literally killing themselves to get likes online. Like, literally dying. And it's like trying to like do something crazy to see if they can get some likes. Who cares? You know what I mean? But to them, I guess it matters because they need attention. I also looked at social media, and like everybody has a voice on social media. So they can go on there and they can just say whatever they want. And there's a lot of hate being spilled out there.
Sure is.
But if it gets stuff stirred up, and people go on my stuff and they try to get stuff stirred up, I don't know if that makes them feel something or whatever, but we live in that world right now. And we got to watch that with our kids too, because it's the same world. And these kids are getting younger and younger, and they're getting on social media, and it's wrecking them, you know. And it's like, we didn't have to worry about that.
No.
We had to worry about some bully at the school, and then we took a karate class. We're going to get in it, you know what I mean? It's like, nowadays, like, these people, I mean, people say stuff to me, and I've learned now, I'll kind of laugh because whenever people get to posting a bunch of bad stuff about me or something, it just boosts everything I got, you know what I mean? So I'm making money off of them, you know? Well, cool, dude, go ahead. But when it first started happening to me, it really affected me. And I'd be lying if I said it didn't affect me now. Because I'll see it and I'm like, the old Dixon County boy, chest swells up like I'm ready to fight, you know what I mean? But then I'm like, but now I see what it is and I understand it. And it's like, they're a lot unhappier than I am. But for kids, and whenever it first happened for me, it affected me big time because I was like, who is this guy? He don't know me. And then I started getting over it. And then I had a dude one time say something about my kids or something. And I was like, no, that's a daddy bear thing there. You know what I mean? Like, I will rip your face off. You know? And it's like, so I learned that. And I was like, okay. And then I also learned that they're going to be into things in a different way than I am because of me. And so whenever they do get their social media, which I hope they never do, but whenever, I'm sure they will, and it'll be something else by the time it gets there. But when they get that and they start getting in public stuff, people are going to follow them. People are going to say things. They already say things to them, you know, based off of me. So the social media world is a dangerous place, but it's also a really good place. That's where you market everything now. And it's like, it's where the world lives. And it is, but I mean, with all that being said, it can be useful too. And I've seen it happen. You said can affect people or their lives in music. I've watched it, people, you know, Where I Find God especially. That's been the one, or A Life Worth Living, or even Another Year Older, like that song. Those songs connect, and it brings people to a time, or it helps them get them out of a spot. And Where I Find God has been really related to drug addiction, not a hit rock bottom sitting on a bar stool. I didn't really write it that way. The way I wrote it was, we find God in nature, you know, or driving on an interstate. I mean, it's where, you know, pray wherever you want to, but a deer stand, hayfield, whatever. And so you got all these places where I find God. But they a lot of people associate it with drug addiction, and then, or alcohol, or whatever, you know, whatever that may be. So I've watched it and I've talked to people, and some cool experiences where people will be in jail and they will play on music, and then they'll play Where I Find God and they'll hear it. I don't know how many people, but there's a few that really stand out. There's quite a few that have hit me up that have heard it in jail and literally got out and changed their life.
Wow.
Pretty cool. But then, you know, these other songs provoke it in a different way. But I think my goal as a songwriter, and I tell people this all the time, our goal as songwriters should be to write something that can change a life or affect somebody. And that's what it should be. It ain't always that way. But for me, I tried to write that way in hopes that's the biggest compliment you can ever get, is that song changed my life. And one more story, I was in Salt Lake City a few weeks ago, and I was doing this private thing for a big company or whatever. And I'm in this big conference type room, and I'm sitting there playing, and I got done with my little set or whatever. I told some jokes, and we had a good time. I'm walking off the stage, I'm going behind this curtain, and as I'm going around, this guy says, hey. I was like, yeah. He came running back, like out of breath, you know. He's like, man, first off, let me say, I'm not supposed to be here. And I was like, oh, okay, what's going on? He was like, no, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm not invited in this place. He goes, my wife is in a different convention. I just heard you singing. I was walking down the hallway and I just run in this place.
Wedding crasher, I love it.
He was a party crasher. I was like, oh, cool, man. He said, I just want to tell you, where I find God changed my life. And I was like, then he starts tearing up and I was like, dadgummit, here we go, sympathy crier. And he's like tearing up and he's telling me this story or whatever. And I did the same thing with him. I'm listening, I hear you, and I'm doing my thing. I appreciate you. And I was like, so what do you do? Where are you at? He lived in Atlanta, Georgia. I was like, a couple of Southern boys meeting out here in Salt Lake City, like this is wild. So we made it, we struck up a friendship, And I think what we're getting to is like people being seen, whatever. It's just little things of like open up conversation. People want to talk about themselves too. And they want to feel like, hey, we're just hanging out. And that's, I think, what I've done well at. And I hope I do. That's a big thing for me. So, but with all that being said, that was another just little fun story there about changing somebody's life. You hear that a lot. And it's like, that's a really cool thing. And a preacher buddy of mine that we talk, and we have lunch, and he said, I can go up here and preach, and I've got my congregation here. He goes, but you got a way to touch millions. It's true, because you go to whatever country and you get to see all these people speaking in different languages and all this stuff, but it all translates somehow, It's like, it's a pretty cool thing. So I'm very thankful that I get to do this for a living, but I'm also, not just saying this, I'm thankful for this podcast too, because I don't usually get to dig deep, It's usually like, tell me about that one song. But this has been a really fun time to dig in and learn a few things, but also talk about the other stuff we don't really get to talk about. So I've enjoyed this.
Appreciate it. I have too. Yeah, man. And it's what's interesting is every story you tell provokes a memory for me. Like as soon as you said Logan, I grew up in Logan, capital of Tennessee, Lewis County. It's the one wall is High Forest in German. That's the industry. I had a huge humbling summer one time when my daddy was in the trucking business, and I was washing trucks. I thought that was the worst job in the world. And so I had a buddy that was in the logging family, and he said, yeah. Okay. So I went to work with him one day. I was a chain dude. I was throwing chains over the logs it was one of the hardest days I'd ever had. And I remember crawling back to my dad, humbled, and asking if I could wash the truck again.
I do this.
But there was that one. It was I could just on and on and on. And I do think I think it's really cool that you've got such an international following.
Me too.
And I do think that, especially European crowds, but just international crowds in general, I think they have pretty good taste in music because they've got a BS meter, because they don't have the influence and pressure you have here with everything being in your face from an ad standpoint. Yeah. And so they cut right through and they find the people that they love. And I noticed that when I was looking into you a little bit, and so was my production team. They were like, man, he's got a huge following. He's got a lot of big fan base.
I've been blown away by it.
Wow.
It's crazy. Like, we showed up in last year, because I went over with Morgan the very first time. We played one show in London. Well, the next year we went back, and Morgan asked me to go back with him and be direct support for him on this whole Europe tour. So we played all these places I'd never even been. And it was cool to see, and then people knew my music. And then while we were on that tour, I went to London, and I was like, well, let's just do my own show and see what happens. I sold it out. In 2 weeks. And I was like, wow. And they were rabid. They were waiting at 11 o'clock in the morning at the venue for me to show up. And I went over to Five Guys across the road because I was just needing some salt at this point, you know what I mean? And so I went across the road, and something with some seasoning on it. And people were lined up politely waiting for me outside of Five Guys.
Wow.
And let me eat my dinner or whatever, and I come out, and they're like hanging out. But
bring them a box of peanuts.
Pretty much, yeah. And
they have peanuts there. Five Guys. You're in London too.
That's a worldwide thing.
Okay, and, just making sure.
Every country I go to, like I went to Ireland and had Five Guys. So I just try them all out. But crazy thing is, I'm a partner in a burger joint here in town too. So I'm not trying to prop up Five Guys, but it's a good burger. But then
hold on, wait now. I want to hear about this. Oh wait, don't finish your story. I want to hear about the burger joints. I'm a burger. I love burgers. Burger nerd.
So we have, we've been all over the place over there, and we went back this year and did my own last year and did my own headlining tour in Europe, and played a lot of the different places I went through with Morgan, and me and Crazy Legs, my bass player, we had an emotional night in Scotland, because we were together in the bar days, in the truck days, in the Winnebago days, all that, from the get-go. And we walk into Scotland and Glasgow and struck up first chord, and the place went nuts. And It is packed. I mean, corner to corner, wall to wall. I mean, just packed. You couldn't fit another person in this place. And I was just like, and they were singing louder than we were singing on the stage. And I was like, dadgum. And I just looked at him, and both of us were like tearing up. I was like, it wasn't that long ago. We were playing that bar in North Georgia for $5 a head, and we only got 15 people show up. Now we're in Scotland. And then we went to Ireland, everything sold out. Everywhere we went, sold out. And I was like, man, we sell more tickets in Europe than we do in the United States most of the time.
Wow.
And then we're going, same deal over in Australia. But yeah, it's blew my mind. It's been such a cool thing, because growing up in White Bluff, Tennessee, like, we never went anywhere but Panama City Beach, Florida, or Destin.
That was
it.
That was family vacation.
That's
Destin,
family
Florida,
vacation.
or Fort Walton.
Fort Walton
used to be the spot before Destin became a thing.
Gulf Shore, we all just sort of hit the little panhandle. That's where we kind of, you stayed in that area.
7.25 drive on at 85.
Exactly.
8 at 65.
Stop off at Peach Park, maybe get some ice cream.
Yeah.
And it's like, but that's what we did every single year. And I never went anywhere really. It was Tennessee. We drive down through Alabama, and we go to the beach, and in Florida. So you had those 3 states. And back before we sold lottery tickets here, I would get my granddaddy's old high top conversion van that he had. It was sweet. And we would ride up to Kentucky line and buy lottery tickets, because Tennessee didn't sell lottery tickets. And so we ride up there. So I've been to Kentucky and Alabama and Florida. And then we went to Myrtle Beach. But that was the extent of my travels, maybe Arkansas to go duck hunting, But that was pretty much it. I never went anywhere else. And then all of a sudden, here I am now, and I'm getting to go to Europe, to Australia, to even in our own country, like going over here to California and Oregon and Washington, like New Mexico, just everywhere, getting to play and people show up. It's really cool. Got to go to British Columbia last year and went on a fishing trip. Had to take a helicopter to get there. Like, got to do some really cool stuff that I never would have ever dreamed of. Didn't even know existed when I was a kid. And one of the cool things, I get to bring my kids along. And 2 of my boys' birthdays were literally in Canada. I was playing in Canada and Montreal and different places, and just having a good time. And I'm like, y'all don't even get it. Like, I never went anywhere really when I was a kid, and y'all are going all over the country and all over the world. And it's like, it's a really cool thing to be able to give to them and let them see it too. And but on my burger joint expedition here, so there's a place called Cletus.
Oh yeah, I've heard of Cletus.
Yeah.
I hadn't tried a burger there yet.
You need to go. It's a good one. It's smash burgers. So we've got one location in Bellevue.
Yeah, put that down.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
I've been talking about it for a while.
Okay, all right.
You have?
It's number 1 on my list. I gotta go.
Oh, you hadn't been yet?
No.
Let's have a Cletus day over here at the office.
Yeah.
You know how much I love burgers. Yeah,
It was number 3 in the country of burgers.
What?
I ain't trying to brag, but we are better than most everybody. So, but yeah, we got one in Bellevue, one on like Elm Hill Pike there, and then we just opened up one, our first franchise, the Gulch.
Wow.
The old Party Foul building. So we got 3 now. So I might be doing one in Chattanooga. I'm looking at some spots.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, we kind of got into that, and it's been a fun.
City Hall's for leasing Burns, Tennessee.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I heard about all that.
Mayor moved it, but I'm hoping. I'm excited, and I'm trying to keep Burns quiet. I can't help myself because I love it so much. But we're waiting on when's it going to be time, to support places like that. It's coming.
Oh. Hey, we've looked at some other houses over, but we had actually talked before we moved, was talking about building one somewhere near it, because we only got that one Mexican restaurant.
That's it.
That's
yeah.
it.
Well, there's a pizza joint right beside it now.
Well, that's true. That's true. We got two restaurants, but and one gas station?
Yeah.
One gas station, two restaurants, and that Mexican restaurant's sneaky. Now, it's got plywood on the windows and stuff, and the first time you see it, you're like, I don't know about this place, but it's actually really good.
It is really good.
Yeah.
I think it's the best Mexican in Dixon County.
I think so. And we stopped there and had it the other day when we were in town. Went and seen all of our friends up there. They still remember my order. So there you go. We frequent a lot. But anyways, yeah, we got Cletus Burgers out here. So
Cletus Burgers, shout out. We're going to try it. We're going to do a Cletus office party. Well, maybe we'll do it before this episode comes out. We can put our review on the back end of it.
Oh, now you're talking. I like it, yeah.
Well, man, this has been a delight. I wish we could keep going, but I don't want you to hit that traffic going south on 24.
Shoot, I'm on. That traffic is. It's always traffic.
It's going to be there no matter what.
Exactly. Yeah, it's one of those things.
Well, are you in a tour cycle right now, or?
Yeah. Well, we just.
I know your album come out in February, didn't it?
Yeah.
Y'all need to get it.
Tour. Oh, thank you. It's it's album's doing good. The tour, we just wrapped it up this past weekend.
Okay.
And we got some, a lot of stuff for summer, and then working on our fall stuff, and it'll be pretty fun. We're got a lot going on.
Best place to find it on. You got a website where you can show all your tour dates.
LarryFleet.com.
Fantastic.
Yep. And got that. And all.
You playing local anywhere this year?
We were trying to do the Ryman again, but they had like a random Tuesday or
Weird
something.
date,
And
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
So we'll probably hit it next year.
Okay.
We're looking at doing like the Pinnacle or something like that,
Yeah.
but
It's a cool
I don't
venue.
know. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll try to catch you somewhere on the road. Something we're doing.
You been to the caverns out? Have you been out there?
I haven't, but I've heard about it. As a matter of fact, in Cumberland Furnace, there's a series of caves too that you can drive back in, and I've wanted to go to the caverns to scout it to potentially try to figure that out because it's right by our property at Onsite in Cumberland Furnace.
You're talking about.
But I've heard the caverns are epic.
They say
You played there?
Yeah, I played there. We played 2 nights in the last fall, I guess it was. We did 2 nights there, and then I played it once or twice. We've been doing a lot. It holds about 1,200 or so. So, but it's off the beaten path, kind of out there, and you have to be going to it to get to. I mean, it's not, you just don't stumble up on it.
Yeah.
But it's out there. But it is they call it the Red Rocks of the South, and I don't know, but it is real pretty, and it's really a cool. It always stays around like 55 degrees in there.
Yeah,
it's like,
I've heard it's
crazy.
incredible. I gotta go
awesome.
do it. Gotta go see it. But we're doing I'm helping put together. I think it's going to come together. But we're working on the current governor. This is his last year in office. He's got like 8 months, 7, 8 months left, and he's about to get ready. He wants to really end with a legacy play, and he's really been big in the correction space, which I spent a lot of time in that space too, and. We're working on putting together a prison tour for the 12 or 14 state prisons in Tennessee, and a good friend of mine, Jason Defoe, I helped him on his last one do a bunch of stops at prisons around the country, and so I kind of got a rhythm of what it's like to go in there and play and the best way to do it. And we did for him, we did a #1 party out here at Riverbend, and which is really tough to do in a maximum security spot. It was powerful.
Yeah.
But that might be fun because there's one of them down there in Trousdale, I think down there not too far from you.
Yeah.
That if it makes sense date-wise, it'd be cool for you to come.
That'd be real cool.
Come play there.
Yeah.
Especially since your song's been impacting some
I mean,
people,
I mean, that's kind of been the thing. And I got another buddy, Zach Williams, Christian singer, and he used to do a lot of go to prisons and stuff and sing. And he said that was kind of his ministry that he did. Yeah. He absolutely loved it. So
yeah, the state's really behind it. And, I hope I don't have to take this part out, but they had said, I think they're really going to do it. I think government wants to make it a big splash and bring the right people around it and really make it a deal. Do yard shows. Yeah. Basically, like I'd teach a class out at San Quentin out in Northern California. Yeah. Started doing that right around pre-COVID, and then, of course, COVID shut it down for a while. But used to go out once a quarter. I hadn't been out there in a little bit, but that's where I really got attached to it because, obviously the legend of Cash playing in that. Yeah. He didn't play in the yard. He played in the north, what's now the cafeteria. But I think him and Metallica are the two that have played, in the yard at San Quentin.
Oh, you imagine a Metallica show?
Yeah.
That'd be wild.
Yeah, it'd be wild. But anyway, this was a heck of a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing a show sometime. I've never seen you live, so I can't wait to see that at some point. And I'm just so thrilled that we got to talk about your music. More importantly, though, we got to talk about you, getting to know the guy behind the art. And you seem like a great guy, great dad, good friend, and appreciate you being with us today.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I try to be. But yeah, thanks for having me. It really was a great time.
You did great, man. Enjoyed it.
Thanks, man.
That's Human School. Keep showing up, keep getting honest. If you like this episode and if it was beneficial, if you don't mind leaving us a review, that would really help us get more eyes and ears on our episodes so we can encourage more people. I'm Miles Ed Cox, and I'll see you next time.